Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is July 11th, YC127, and this is the Eve Universe Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's it going, guys? It is good to see you guys. I am sorry this week has been wild for me. Yesterday was my son's birthday. I actually didn't go and attend at his actual birthday, but it did mean that I had a lot to do this week to get things ready and to make sure that things were good. And also, you know, we did put out some edited videos and such. If you are interested in getting my son some sort of birthday present or whatever, he has requested just Steam gift cards or Roblox gift cards. Obviously, nothing's necessary or whatever, but if you are so inclined, you can always just pick that up and send the code to me, and I will transfer it to him, and I will make sure that he knows who it is and get you guys a thank you for that. But today is a new day. It is Friday, the end of this week, and we have quite a bit of news to cover today. We have freelance delivery jobs. We've got new dev blogs, a new dev chat about the freelance delivery jobs, which I haven't watched yet. The last one was very insightful, which actually, speaking of which, the last one, the Plex discussion part 2, it is live currently for our members, those who support the stream with at least $1 a month. On the YouTubes, get my edited videos early, normally about a day early, but I've delayed on this one because my previous video did pretty good, and so I wanted to give things time. So probably tomorrow we will be putting out the breakdown or the review, the discussion around the Plex friction-free Plex video that we did a couple days, or like last week. This week, or today, we have the freelance delivery jobs videos. We also have patch notes. We have Liberation Day. We've got Alliance tournament announcements. We've got the monthly economic report. We've got a lot to cover today. What just happened here? What is going? I think my Discord just decided to die. That's fine. But how you guys doing? I abandoned you for my kid. I mean, you know, no. I did. So honestly, though, there was a lot more going on than just the birthday. I ate something that didn't agree with me. It's been a week. Okay. I also recently moved my entire computer setup to my living room from my bedroom. So this morning was a lot of complication, as nothing seemed to want to work exactly right, which is why the stream started half an hour late. And I hope everything's good. I do know that in the last video that I just did, my audio was like way more high key than I wanted it to be. So I did tune it down a little bit. Let me know if the audio is good now or if there's anything that I need to improve. Yeah, I think that's all like the administrative stuff today. Let me think. Yeah, I've been also like starting my new medication and getting used to everything. It's been a time. It's been a time. So, but you know, like I said, we've got a lot to talk about today. So let's go ahead and jump into the first topic. Hey, what's up, DeBoyd? Yeah, let's jump into the first topic. Freelance delivery jobs are here. This is okay. So freelance jobs is kind of the hallmark feature of the Legion expansion, right? So, you know, a few years ago, 2 years ago, I think now, with Viridian, they came out with corporation projects, which originally came out extremely bare bones, but then eventually was built out to be a fairly robust system. There's some problems with it here and there, obviously, still. But, you know, we've been using corporation projects fairly successfully internally for several different things, and in fact we've been using them more recently for our operations as kind of the projects and things that we were trying to do expand. Excited to hear more experience takes so I can compare it to my 5-year-old child analysis. I wonder what your 5-year-old child says. No. So like the weird thing about, with Legion, they released what's called freelance jobs, which is basically the ability to do corporation projects for like the public, right? Instead of only being for your corporation, it is a public thing that anybody can claim Now, with the corporation projects, anybody who just does the thing, whatever it is, automatically gets rewarded for it. In the freelance jobs, you actually have to find the freelance job and accept that freelance job for yourself, and then go and do that thing, whatever it is, and then you can get rewarded. But all of the freelance jobs that were originally released, with the exception of like the faction warfare one, arguably, pretty much none of them were things that like somebody would want somebody to do for like a profit per se. They could be useful for like nullsec to like coordinate ratting systems and stuff like that. But like, given the fact that basically you're just asking somebody to do a task and then paying them for it most of the time, or, you know, whatever, like a ship replacement program or whatever, there wasn't like a, what do I get out of it? The thing that the person who's setting up the corporation job gets out of it is publicity. You know, it's a good recruitment tool, potentially. And also just the ability to affect the universe. You know, the best example of that kind of interesting take on the corporation projects that I've seen so far, or the freelance projects, was there's one that was like happy birthday, because one of the constraints that you can put on freelance jobs is how old the character is. So they made a thing where if your character was exactly 365 days old, no more, no less, then if you killed somebody, or like an NPC or something like that, I think it was, or maybe it was just mine one rock somewhere or something like that, you would get like a small chunk of ISK, like 10 million ISK or something like that. And like, that doesn't benefit the person who's putting up that project in any tangible way. Obviously, they don't get the ore, they just spent money, right? But it's a cool, like, that's part of what playing a sandbox game is all about, right? It's not always about power and progress. It's about shaping the universe in your own creative and unique way. And I think that that was a good reflection of that. However, yesterday, we got the first freelance job that really is kind of like something I get out of it, right? Something I want, and therefore I can get it, which is delivery jobs. Now, the obvious criticism, comment, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to delivery jobs is like, it's a bit redundant, isn't it? Like, there is very little functionally different between a freelance job and a buy order, right? Basically, in both scenarios, you're saying, hey, I need you to give me this, and I will buy it from you for this much, right? So we're going to look at this, and I actually have some ideas as to why freelance jobs actually has a value in a universe in which buy orders exist. But I'm interested to see what you guys have to think about it. Again, but before we jump into it too much, I do want to point out, just like I did when we talked about the original freelance jobs, it's the thing about this is, it feels to me like freelance jobs as a concept is a gigantic shift in how EVE Online can be played, and you know, as a sandbox, right? The potential for the game with freelance jobs is huge. You know, the ability to make player-built missions and like the idea that like more of the universe and the content in the universe can be player-generated is really the promise that freelance jobs is trying to deliver. But with that, with great power comes great responsibility, and EVE Online players are nothing if not irresponsible. So one of the biggest problems, or one of the biggest design challenges I feel that CCP has, or at least I think that they're dealing, like this is what's motivating them, is this idea that they would rather the freelance jobs be underutilized than overpowered. And so, as I pointed out, the original setup of freelance jobs were not something that could easily be exploited for your own good. You could do some weird tricks and stuff, like convince somebody to go try to like mine rocks in Tama to set them up for failure. But like beyond that, there isn't much edge cases to be exploited as much. And so I think that this is partially the reason why they're going with this, is that this is like the very first impactful thing, but the redundancy almost feels part of the process. Like they're treading onto already familiar territory. It is interesting. So like there is a video that we're going to be watching about this where they're going to talk about this. So I'm just giving you my thoughts, having not watched the video yet, and we'll jump into it. Okay. So, all right. Timely capsuleers. I like the idea of delivery jobs over logging in alts to see what's needed in regions and hoping it's still needed. Well, so that's interesting about that though, because like the idea of locality is absolutely still there, because remember, freelance jobs must be broadcasted from specific locations, and the more locations that you broadcast it out of, the more it costs you to put up the freelance job. So this isn't a solution for visibility. In fact, I would argue that freelance jobs are probably going to be less visible, less, you know, a regional market order is visible in more systems than a freelance job. So I don't know if I necessarily agree that this allows you to kind of see everything, because you're only going to be able to see things within, I think it was 5 jumps of one of the offices in which you're using, in which you're broadcasting these freelance jobs. So that is something to look at. Okay. So since the launch of freelance jobs, capsuleers and corporations have found various incredible ways to put them to good use, nefarious and noble. Creating your own SRP programs, recruiting like-minded capsuleers to corporations, competing in PvE competitions, creating your own missions, focusing efforts in faction warfare, and getting your name out there. Space is active, and you're the ones creating the action. But one thing has been missing. Because some deliveries take longer than expected, others arrive precisely when they mean to. The latest update to Legion expansion brings the much-anticipated addition of deliver-type jobs to freelance jobs, a logistical addition that will take your creativity to the next level, allowing you to set up buyback programs, regular fuel delivery tasks, and much more. Many of you have asked for this addition since day one, and we hear you. Day one would have been nice. A special thank you goes out to everyone who participated in the Singularity test, and those who made voices heard via Discord, forums, and Reddit. Deliveries made simple. This new job type, hold on, looks like my audio is just a little bit too loud. Let me turn it down a little bit. This new job type allows corporations to request item deliveries directly from freelance jobs, streamlining logistical and stimulating the movement of goods across New Eden. Allowing the delivery of the items to the job itself enables you to run concurrent requests for the same item without issues. No hangar space clashes, no asset pileups, just clean, trackable contributions. For the freelancer, yes, it all happens ship to job straight from your cargo hold. So we have this video here. They just go drop it off directly into, oh, okay. So the opportunities has its own UI drop off. You turn it in, bingo, bango, and you're done. And you get to claim your ISK. And the ISK claim is right there in the box. This is a very big improvement to the UI, if nothing else. For corporations, it's a way to tap the capsuleer market for swift and scalable logistics. For freelancers, it's a chance to earn ISK by moving materials and making your mark. Ownership transfer, contribution records, and payouts all happen seamlessly. It's the delivery method you've been waiting for, just a bit late. It is, so like this goes into something that we've talked about a lot with Legion, which is that I felt that Legion, like CCP kind of has a release schedule, and it feels like a lot of what was designed for Legion wasn't quite ready for the main release. And this is a minor kind of admission to that. We're still waiting for things like Gold Rush. We're still waiting for quite a few things that they've suggested are coming with Legion. But this is a big one. I'm kind of surprised that we saw this before we saw things like, because one of the things that was most asked about when it came to freelance jobs was the ability to put like things in the rewards, not just ISK, right? So like if you do this thing for me, then you get this Atron that's fit, right? That'd be kind of cool, right? Instead of a ship replacement program that doesn't just replace your ship with ISK, but actually replaces it with a new ship, that could be pretty cool. But you know, we didn't get that first. We got this first, which is kind of the opposite, but you know, whatever. Yeah, also like things like being able to use access lists for freelance jobs and other constraints besides just you know, how old you are. These are all things that they've kind of suggested are coming to freelance jobs, but this is probably as I said, kind of like the easiest one for them to execute, and also design-wise, the least impactful one, because again, arguably, these are just buy orders, right? Like, these are just buy orders. Okay. There's also more to the dev blog, but we'll look at that in just a little bit. I guess, so my biggest thing here with this is, like, if I want to try to figure out why this is useful, so the problem with buy orders, to just be dismissive, is, or you know, to not be as dismissive about this, I should say. The problem with buy orders is that the market is big and cluttered and full of everything. You know, like we've been working, actually Malin here and I have been working on plugging the Dodixie market holes, right? Trying to make sure that there's everything you could possibly need to get in Dodixie is in Dodixie. So that way people can actually use Dodixie as a valid trade hub. By the way, that's true. You know, you guys should start using Dodixie if you want. Now that you don't have to buy Plex and Jita, it's a better reason to. If there's anything that is missing in Dodixie that you need, please hit me or Malin up, and we will make sure to get that corrected as soon as possible. But, you know, this process of just being able to fill the holes in Dodixie has been a, like, 2-month plus process, mostly because of how much of a pain in the ass simply acquiring all, you know, like discovering all of the holes in the Dodixie market is. There are thousands of items on the market, and, you know, going through every single one of them to make sure that they have sufficient supply is a monumental task. And even though, you know, we have spreadsheets to try to help make this possible, yep, and Botain's right next door, it's great for manufacturing. Even though, you know, we have we've been building these spreadsheets to do it, it's still like, like even filling out those spreadsheets with all of the different items and prioritizing things, it's a huge deal. And that's with the simple action of just trying to figure out what holes there are in an established market. Now, imagine you're trying to figure out what to build or what to sell or whatever like that. There is, you know, Jita, obviously, and the other markets, but like trying to look through all of the buy orders to see who's buying what is, I would suggest that very few people ever do that. So I haven't actually experimented with this too much, but I would imagine that if I just randomly put up a buy order in some system, that, especially one that isn't a major trade hub, for a bunch of like five caracals or something like that, the chances of somebody seeing that and deciding to go and fulfill that, I would think is probably pretty low. I think that actually buy orders would arguably have a visibility problem outside of a market system. And so there could be argued that these freelance jobs are a way of offering visibility to a buy order, allowing it to kind of stand out among the crowd. Now, part of that is because freelance jobs are not overly cluttered at the moment, but I feel like people don't necessarily go to the market to look for opportunities to sell things in the same way that they might go into freelance jobs to look for opportunities to make money, right? I feel like there's just, even though it is functionally the same thing, I want to say that there's just different user cases of who would engage with those things and why. And so it could very well be that freelance jobs deliveries will be more successful for getting you to turn in a random thing, especially outside of a trade hub, than a buy order. And from my understanding, I've talked to Thrans, our operations manager, I don't know, he's got a, whatever, he's the guy that makes things happen. He says that we've been playing a little bit around with this, and it has actually been successful. So the other thing it could be useful for is things that are largely like corporation things Like, for instance, if I need a bunch of fuel delivered where our station is, you know, I can use corporation projects for that, but by making it a freelance project, technically that makes it so that like our corporation and if anybody else gets to it first, they could. The other good thing is, like, for instance, if I wanted to, you know, we do moon mining, and our moon mining, like, we have corporation projects that link up with the moon material, so that way people can just drop the materials once they've mined it into the corporation projects. They get paid right out. That is one of the best, like, successful uses of corporation projects that we've had. But, you know, I'm not opposed to having a moon that is kind of open to the public. And so the idea that, like, I would have freelance projects at the location of my moon, instead of paying you to mine the rocks and then not getting anything for it, which is what currently exists, or at least what existed before the 10th. Now I can put up a freelance project for the very material that is being mined on that moon or in the belts or whatever, and then offer a public fleet to mine that rocks. And now I've got this kind of really good, like, that feels like a recruitment system, because at that point it's not just a buy order. It is a, it's an advertisement. It's an open, it communicates something about what is going on more than a buy order might. Yeah, so let's see what you guys have to say. It'll have an effect, but that's more because of the regional market visibility information. I hardly sell to the market because I have a client list. Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like an invitation. Well, it's also like, it's a system, right? So you have a fleet that's open to the public. There's an MOTD that links to the thing. People can see, like, hey, all you need to do is come here, mine, drop this off in this place, and then you're good to go, right? So so on the, like, it does, on the one hand, it's redundant. On the other hand, it adds a certain amount of flexibility and interest that I think is valuable, especially since, like, so the other thing is that in that last case, an Athanor can't have a regional market in it. So I couldn't put up a buy order in the Athanor itself, but I could put up a freelance project. I feel like this won't affect the community as large. It's a highly hypothetical scenario. I don't think that this is designed to affect the community at large. I think that we are taking baby steps into a world. That's why I was saying, like, this is one of the least impactful ways that they could implement a freelance project, because that, you know, this has to evolve out of that. But that's what I have to say about it. I'm interested in what you guys have to think in the comments down below and in chat, of course. But we are going to check out this video, which is I think a 20-minute, 30-minute long, 25-minute long video about deliveries and freelance jobs. So let's go ahead and look at that. Let me turn on the desktop audio.
Hello and welcome to another dev chat. I am CCP Monty, and I'm joined today by CCP Eclipse and CCP Havron. How are you guys doing?
That's a really good point. You know, as they add these new things into the game, perhaps the MPE need to be updated, or even the help section where there's videos. Maybe there needs to be videos about how to engage with corporation projects, how to make corporation projects or freelance projects, etc. I agree. And I think that I agree so much that I would argue that there should be special freelance projects put up by almost like NPC freelance projects that, like, allow for controlled tutorial like experiences before they get, like, introduced to the wider world. Just I mean, I'm not saying that, like, players are already putting up good freelance projects for newer players, but the point is that, like, this allows a certain amount of consistency. Like, they can make sure that exactly what's there is supposed to be there, and therefore the descriptions of the tutorial or whatever can match what it is that's happening, or the scenario can, whatever. Either way, let's go ahead and listen.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing great.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here, and there's a good reason for that. We have a an update coming out today. People that are listening to this have probably already seen it, but some of the most requested features that were kind of missing from the Legion expansion initially when it comes to the freelance job. So we're going to discuss all of that and go through just, well, what's going on in.
I also think that this is another one of those things where like achievements and such would be very valuable, right? Like there could be in the air career program, actually, there should be now a task to interact with a freelance job. So that way, the very first freelance job that you do, you get an additional bonus on top of whatever it is that the freelance job is. That could be useful.
That part of the game. So let's just dive in. Maybe just kicking off with you, Havran. Tell us a little bit about the major things in the update today. The delivered.
Yes, the delivered update. So basically, we are adding a new type of contribution method for freelance jobs, which is just called deliver. This contribution method is already present in corporation projects, and it's the most used contribution method in corporation projects. So we are just finishing or adding on top of the freelance jobs that we have released with Legion, and putting in a new method, deliver item, where corporations can issue.
It could be a daily, but I kind of get nervous about that. You know, having it be a one-time thing is easy to kind of justify, but having it be a daily feels more exploitable. But also, like, I mean, I don't know. It could work. Could work.
Delivery jobs, and freelancers can then accept the delivery jobs and then deliver items or item groups to the corporations.
I mean, it was discussed when we first saw the freelance job that this was a very obvious thing that was missing. People were setting up mining jobs and such, but the ore was not being delivered to the correct place. Yes. But with the design essentially just being out of scope for the update day, this was always planned as a quick release afterwards, right?
Yes, absolutely. We wish we could have released it with the expansion, but there are a lot of other considerations we need to take into account when we have this kind of a job. For the bulk of the other types of jobs that we have, we rely just on a single event that kind of indicates the contribution. But for this, we have the restraints of like somebody needs to access this item. We need to move it, and we need to make sure that the correct people have access as well, because we don't just want to drop it somewhere in space. That would be, yeah.
And that's the second part of the update. That's the new, well, essentially corporation hangar as such.
Yes.
Exactly.
So how this works is that players will deliver items straight to the project, or to the job rather, than a hangar. So freelancers that want to deliver items will open the actual job page in opportunities, and they can drag the item they want to deliver in a Dropbox, as it were, and then turn it in. This was done mostly because freelancers or people outside the corporation that have issued it don't have access to corporation hangars. So we have to create kind of a new paradigm of deliveries. And we have gone with this full UI way of delivering it. And once this happens, once the participants, freelancers, deliver this item, it gets moved to...
Can we get corporation projects to start using the same UI, please? Thank you.
A new hangars that we call capsuleer deliveries. And from there, the corporation can pick it up. It can be a director or project manager can pick these items up. So
so there can be roles within that have a specific purpose in a larger kind of system or such, where somebody with a specific role on the corp can be kind of like managing the supplies or such that's coming in. So,
yep.
For example, I'm running a station somewhere in that needs fuel.
That's actually a really interesting question, Malcolm, because like I was thinking about that, and I just assumed that so with player structures, you can drop something into the structure when you're outside of it, right? So that way you can like deliver like a contract or something like that to a structure that you're not having docking in. So I was even just thinking about that with the mining thing, where it's like, well, if they don't have access to my Athanor, how are they going to be able to turn it in? And like they could drop it off with the Dropbox feature, but then yeah, that's a good question of whether or not without docking you can drag and drop it into that box. I assume probably not, which would be unfortunate. I think that we might need to test that. But if not, that's something that should be done, because I would love to make it so that people can actually deliver things without necessarily being able to dock in the structure itself. That sounds like an important thing.
Fuel or similar, I can have an open freelance job of just like, I'm essentially buying fuel for this price as long as you deliver it to the station.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need the CEO or the or something like that to actually be the one to just accept it and then use the items.
No, we are using, it's the project managers will have access to this as well. So it's a similar paradigm that you have in the corporation projects already.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Are we expecting to see a lot of new and emergent kind of ways to use these systems now?
Oh yeah, definitely. This is like by far the most requested contribution method
it
for
was
freelance.
A pretty obvious thing that was missing.
Yes.
Let's just not dwell on that.
Yeah. But just like the freelance, like the contribution methods that are already in the game, people have been pretty creative with them. So we're expecting a similar thing with to deliver contribution methods. And I'm really looking forward to what people can come up with.
I wouldn't mind stopping at that for a second, because it's actually something that we internally here saw a lot post Legion, that it was a true interest of just devs internally to be following these projects, to see what people were actually doing with them and how, and we saw a lot of screenshots and stuff being shared around of pretty intuitive ways of actually using it.
Sure.
Obviously, the funniest one is the killer CCP death. We're coming for you. Don't worry.
Yeah, somebody put up a freelance job to kill CCP member, because you can set up one to be like kill people within a certain alliance or whatever, and so they put one for kill members of the CCP alliance, which is pretty clever.
Yeah, I don't like somebody being paid for killing me in space. That's but yeah, we've seen quite a few. I don't know if we have some of them. We can actually pull a few up and take a look, because there were some pretty cool ones. Like this one here that we see now. Players were using this to make life easier for new players. They were doing it obviously just for content and for convenience. But like the one we have here of new players initiative, mine and low sec. New players should mine in low sec to access rare, more valuable ores and gas, are not available in high sec, offering higher potential profits and such. So,
do you know why CCP got rid of the old bounty system? That's actually so. I would argue, and this is probably this is my perception of things. So obviously everybody's going to have their own spin, but first of all, the bounty system as it existed wasn't particularly useful. It was kind of a fun thing to do, but people could theoretically use it to pull their own bounty or whatever, and ultimately a lot of people just had wanted on their name, and it actually upset a lot of newer players, because people would just go around and put like a little bit bounty on everybody, and so like they would have that wanted and be a pretty, and like it actually caused some like upsetness within people. But more importantly, I can't remember, I think this might have been World War B, the original one, around that time, but there were like big fights going on, and fights that caused the servers to creak, and people noticed that they would get like bounty payouts while they're fighting in these giant battles. And so there were accusations by the player base that managing the bounty system was just one more extra task causing load on the system. And while originally CCP kind of pushed back against that narrative, ultimately they took out the bounty system at about that time. And I firmly believe, like, regardless of whether or not it was causing undue load on the server, it was being perceived as causing undue load on the server. And so they got rid of it with the idea that, theoretically speaking, they could bring it back. But then they never really did. And of course, freelance jobs are kind of the return of that. But yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily say that there were technical problems, but given the fact that there were a lot of like high-end fights going on at the time, there was a lot of scrutiny on server performance. And so everything was kind of being looked at, and that was being seen as like, because like, for instance, you know, Crime Watch is a huge load on the system. So if you have a fight in low sec, you know, a fight in low sec with like 2,000 people will have the same amount of lag and tie-dye as a fight in null sec with like 5,000 people. Even if there's like wars involved or everything, you know, like faction warfare or whatever, because all of those extra rules that are applied in low sec for Crime Watch has to be processed. And that does create a lot of extra load on the system. So that it is true that like additional systems do that. And so arguably the bounty system might have been, but you know, players are always looking for excuses for why the performance is gone down. And the bounty system ended up becoming a target, and it wasn't providing enough value, so CCP just removed it.
This corp, the Mercantile Club Accounting Services, just literally creating a path for a player.
I do really like this, and this is a really cool, like, this is one of, like, there's a reason why they're highlighting this, right? Where it's like, this is not just a freelance project. This is like attempting to be a guide or a, you know, provide direction in EVE Online itself, right? This is, it's not that they necessarily want you to go mine in low sec. It's about like, hey, if you're a newer player and you're looking for better opportunities, here's low sec, here's how to do it. And in the description, you can put in information. I would absolutely, like, this is why you would do it. I would absolutely make sure to link something that like explains how directional scan works, right? To help people like actually learn how to do this. That would be the next step. Like, not just explain why you want to go mine in low sec, but maybe give them some tips as to make sure that they can do so successfully. And then, of course, this one in the back is like what we've kind of suggested as being the de facto use for the original freelance projects, which is to help faction warfare kind of focus people's attention and to draw people in to campaigns and actions within faction warfare by saying, hey, come join faction warfare and come and target this particular system, because that's where the action is. And that's where we're trying to push.
To go without needing to interact with NPC quest givers or such.
Yeah, exactly. So this was kind of the original idea behind freelance jobs, that we will facilitate the connection between corporations and potential recruits via freelance jobs. So as we just saw, the corporation put out a ship insurance freelance job, and they basically pay players ship insurance when they die in a specific ship, which makes the new player like them more because they're giving them free money, and that potentially leads to a connection and a new player that joins the corp.
And we've seen many of the biggest alliances grow from the new broken corp vibe, where they are just getting people into cheap ships, let's just put it that way, that they can fly and enjoy and be part of content. And now we're seeing that at a more kind of maybe organized and smaller scale to participate.
Yeah, and it's really cool, I think.
It might be interesting to go back and look like at some of these corporations, because they're claiming that this is being used for recruitment successfully. But it might be interesting to go back and look at these like freelance jobs from these corporations, and then go and look at those corporations to see how well they've grown from this, right? Like, I wish that we had a little bit more meaty information about it, but this is something we could potentially like dig into and look at, right?
as well, just to have the ability as like you're maybe a timid player, you're not maybe super confident, so having the chance to kind of interact in this kind of asocial way with somebody that's like in this kind of bigger universe in itself, I think that's really cool. It's really fun.
I think we can be pretty proud of the fact that in the EVE universe, it's not only kind of a path that it is designed. Sorry, I know game design should design a path, but we're literally giving people an opportunity to create other people's path as their path, basically.
Yeah,
and it just it's such an insane thing to think about, that whenever game design or development or whatever comes up with a new thing and they need to implement it, that they are always, they might be changing and fixing something for me, but it might completely have a different outcome for 9 other types of players that enjoy it, or even just my alt. It's like it's such an interesting world to try and like figure out how to balance, and I am glad I am not on that team.
And that's, I mean, again, like that's a huge piece of what about this freelance job stuff, is that like, even though it seems very simple to us and so small, like from a game design perspective and from a game, like a game industry perspective, this is huge, right? Like this is, again, like the very first steps towards player-built missions, player-built content, a promise that a lot of games have attempted to solve and have like largely failed in. I know like City of Heroes, I think it was, had player-built missions and stuff, but like this is a complicated thing, because as soon as you allow players to build it, that goes into like there's some great videos by Josh Rife Hayes about how like the problem with sandbox universes is that players don't necessarily conform to the rules of the game, right? They're not, player built stuff is not necessarily immersive. Often it is garish and crude, the fun thing is that like player creativity is great until you realize that like a lot of people aren't that creative and aren't that talented. So like how do you allow people, you have to balance like the freedom for people to do what they want with the fact that a lot of times if you give people the freedom to do whatever they want, they're going to do stuff that's just crap, not just bad, not just evil, but just crap, right? Like not good. So this is, again, like it's on one hand, it's a small thing. On the other hand, it's a huge thing.
With the freelance jobs, and I'm sure we have more to take a look at. I love the one that basically just urged people to go and die in a gate camp.
Yeah.
Just rip that band-aid off. It sucks. I love the story that Helmar said that the 10-year anniversary of EVE, when he was talking about the thorax that he lost, that he borrowed. And as the CTO, he still mined for weeks to make a new one.
We watched that video the other day.
One for the person that he lost that thorax for. And that's exactly kind of what happens when you lose the first ship in EVE. It is a big moment. You don't really know what you can do or something like that. While those that have been there for a while, if I don't lose a ship each night, I'm kind of not playing,
Yeah.
But I really loved that kind of stuff that was coming from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here we see one more. The Galante Federation contest freelance job. Capture as many plex as you can in Frontline and command operation systems. And it was just like propaganda and everything, both from Minmatar and Galante on the faction warfare.
Yeah.
And I see both of you actually smile a lot when you see the stuff that people are creating in the systems that you've been developing.
And it's worth noting, like, I don't have it up ready right now. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick. They were just showing off that the Galente put up that freelance job. I don't know if necessarily that's the whole story, but we can go. Come on. And we can see that come on, there we go. We can see that the Galente have been doing incredibly good. There's been a bit of a pushback from Caldari recently, but the Gallente have now become stronger than they have been since Uprising, since the faction warfare rebalance has happened. And I don't know if it can 100% be like claimed that the embracing of freelance jobs assisted with this. Maybe somebody could vouch for it or not, but I don't think it's a coincidence that like they have this interesting propaganda piece, like this strong desire to engage with these freelance jobs, which again, like the directing faction warfare focus was kind of perceived as being one of the best methods for freelance jobs, and the results that we've seen in the war zone.
Fair.
Yeah.
And I see both of you actually smile a lot when you see the stuff that people are creating in the systems that you've been developing.
It's so fun.
Exactly. That's a freelance job that was created for the contest, basically, how many freelance factional warfare complexes you can capture. That's another way of showing how a freelance jobs can be used to just track progress of like different people. Because if you're in a corporation and you issue this job, you see in the participants' view all of the people that have joined and how much they have contributed. So it's a nice little leaderboard that's like great to see used like that.
We use that in Corp.
If we look at what people have created, do you guys feel like from what they were giving initially, initially, that we've seen almost the full spectrum of what was possible, or is there quite a lot of things that game design was expecting to come out that hasn't, or something like that? Or?
I think we've seen probably most of what's possible for now. Obviously, as we're going to be adding more contribution methods, then we're expecting to see many more things popping up.
And let's just talk a little bit, it's not on the spot, this is coming, but more just like in general terms, like where's the vision for the freelance jobs? Like, is there something that we can expect? Can we expect updates on it throughout the year, or is it something that we, might be taking a look at in a year's time or 2 years' time, or are there already methods being tested that we want to look into? And I know that around all of this, Goldsmith was designed to be able to, which is an internal system, to give essentially game design the tools to inject new ways of completing missions and putting up parameters and such.
Yeah, definitely. Eclipse, maybe you can talk a little bit about Goldsmith and how it works.
Yeah, so the Goldsmith, it comes out of the need to kind of generalize this. We have, for the corporation project, we have a lot of contribution methods. And each time when we have a contribution method, we need an engineer to find some sort of an action in the game. We need to define an action. That can be mining, it can be capturing a complex, it can be delivering an item, and so on. And then we need to emit that, essentially, so we can tell our system what's happening when a player performs a action. And we thought, because we have a lot of these defined already, and assuming we have that, it would be nice for game designers to not need as much engineering support on this, to give them the freedom to kind of create.
Is that coming from the engineers, or is that coming from game design? Like, which one doesn't want more of it? No, I'm kidding.
I think it is I think
kind of both.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
It's just faster iteration as well.
Yeah, it is. I think.
Okay, well, that's all good and all, but prove it by adding pirate complexes and pirate faction warfare to the contribution methods. The fact that we can't set up pirate tasks, but we can set up empire tasks, is completely unfair.
It's just positive overall, really. It's also because we tend to work a bit in, I don't know, I think especially early in the cycle, game designers have a lot to do, so much to define. But when we come closer to release, they are more in a support role, and this kind of empowers them more to be able to do things in tandem, if that makes sense. We also have these defined, and you want to be able to use them in a good way. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. This is my first time on a podcast.
It's, so basically the TLDR
yeah.
is, as a player, I get more cool stuff
Yeah.
in a shorter amount of time because game design has been able to test it and put it into and put it to use right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's basically what everybody that's listening
basically
cares
it.
about.
yeah, that's fair. I'm an engineer, so
and a lot of I've noticed that throughout my years of playing EVE Online, that if I am on a team, I'm probably the least technical person on that team. So it feels a little bit like work.
Hey, she.
On that topic. Okay, but have we learned something from the freelance jobs that we want to change, or something that kind of was like a negative side or similar?
Yeah, like I assume you mean like any problems with freelance jobs.
Yeah.
That so there are a couple of things that have been raised by the community. The prime among them that has been raised many times is that when you go into air opportunities and you see freelance jobs, the list of freelance jobs, you can't really filter to see only the jobs that you can accept.
Yeah.
Because we have some conditional restrictions on freelance jobs. So, for example, some jobs can't be accepted by people of a certain character age. So if I'm like a corporation is aiming only at new players that are a month or younger, then I see that, but I can't see that I can't accept it until I click on it. So we are definitely looking for a way to filter these out so you don't have your freelance jobs list spammed with jobs that you can't even interact.
I mean, I would argue that, like, in general, filtering will be like one of the biggest like pieces of this, right? Because like the challenge, the problem that would occur is, like, if this becomes popular enough, we already have this problem in our corporation where it's like we've got a lot of stuff going on, and if we have a lot of jobs up, you know, if we try to make a job for all the different types of ore or whatever, it becomes so spammy that it's very difficult for somebody to find one that is actually relevant to them in the sea of all of the different ones, or if we put out a new one or whatever. So, like, good filtering tools, I think, is going to be really, really important. And we can look at the filtering tools themselves. I don't actually remember how good they are, but, you know, whatever.
We're gonna need a social media algorithm there in the end. It's
Maybe
just learns what you like, and
cool.
yeah. And then you think that's the only thing that's out there. We know how this works. Yeah, and I mean, there's a few things that we've obviously seen in the feedback. One of the first things that was often mentioned was just kind of like scamming, griefing, you know, these negative sides, which partially can be addressed and can be made harder, but at the end of the day, it's kind of always been a part of this universe.
Yeah, indeed.
So, yeah, hopefully
it's always a hard thing to balance, giving players more freedom and preventing griefing.
Yeah. Well, okay, but
Negative
what about
interactions
like next steps, future stuff? Are we? I'm trying to get some leaks here. I'm trying to get some alpha. I'm trying to get something on where do we like? Is there something that you in particular would like to see added as a condition and therefore create around it?
Yeah. So
I don't see mining in Amazon as a scam. I see it as a challenge. You know, that's fine. I'll go figure it out. That sounds fun.
Obviously, we're delivering deliver item today, and next one will be, at least I want it to be destroy Capsuleer. So, like, something as a bounty system.
Yes, please.
Oh,
Yes.
that's not
I
already
remember.
in? There you go.
Like back in 2004 and 5, and I'm just gonna name drop. Tank CEO was on every single billboard there, and I was like 14, and I was afraid. I really wanted to find this guy, but I knew I'd probably die because I was in a frigate, and you know he had probably like an 80 million bounty. It was like insane, and I miss that. I miss the villains of EVE. We need more villains, people. That's what we need.
I agree.
No, okay, but that sounds like a seriously cool thing, and I've seen a lot of discussion on this, and that was actually something like just day one, going to, you know, through the Reddits or the forums or something like that people are kind of hypothesizing about how they could potentially create the bounty system with what they had already.
Yeah. So what is there already is only damage capsuleer.
Yeah.
So the condition is just to damage, not destroy. But we then figured out that this can be abused pretty heavily.
Yep.
By like, let's say a corporation sets up.
I can shoot my friend.
Yeah. You can shoot your friend and
I can shoot myself.
Get money basically for your own bounty. And until we add ACLs into freelance jobs, this is gonna keep happening. But as an intermediary step between the ACLs and this, we want to add the destroy capsuleer's contribution method. That will be much harder to grief. And especially if we, for example, add payment based on the percentual value of the ship. So even if you use alts and destroy your own alts ship, you will not be able to get the full amount of money that you paid for the ship.
Yeah.
So then it will become less profitable to grief.
Yeah. Absolutely. I am all for this. One of the things also that
The one problem with this, though, and this kind of goes into the idea of freelance projects altogether, is like there is a bit of a visibility issue. One of the things that was really nice about the original bounty system was that you could just see if somebody was in space that there was a bounty on them. And you can also see, if they're in local with you, that there's a kill right on them. And those two things combine nicely, right? You could see that there was somebody with a bounty on them that was also had a kill right on them. And so you could like activate the kill right and then claim the bounty. Now, that had also some really fun interactions where people would place really big cost on the kill right. So that way people would accidentally spend more to get the kill right than they would get from the kill. But the point is that it was visible to you. As soon as you saw the person, you could be like, hey, this guy is somebody that you could attack. And also you can get paid for attacking. And I think that that actually is something that might be nice to think about when it comes to freelance projects altogether, is like, if you're in a system with rats that have that, if there is a freelance, if there's something that you can do that would contribute to a freelance project, but you're not, that you are eligible for, but you're not signed up for, there should be some sort of indicator that lets you quickly check the freelance job that is associated with that thing. Now that's a pretty big piece. Like that might not work per se, but I think that like that would be my wish, right? To make it so that if there's something going on, if you're running plexes in a system, that there is a freelance job to run those plexes, there should be a little thing that indicates, hey, there's a freelance job associated with this task. And then you could click on it and see with the freelance job and like maybe have to go and accept it or whatever it is, however that plays out, but at least give you that visibility. Visibility is critical here.
I can look forward to seeing now is whether if by
we have not yet gone over that, Punch.
having this broader kind of option of like the deliver items and such, if we will be able to see the coalitions of alliances, for example, in Null or in Low, where you might have industrial corps or such, like not necessarily the ones running the stations or taking care of the fleets or such, that if now with this change, the freelance jobs potentially become a, well, sure, anybody can accept it, but you won't be able to enter a space because we'll blow you up kind of thing, and therefore be able to facilitate kind of an internal just system of this that can be handled in client. It doesn't need to be handled in an Excel sheet, basically.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's really powerful. Really.
Yeah. It's definitely something that we wanna keep watching. And one of the favorite things for me in this whole thing is also just seeing the feedback. And like we were talking about earlier when we were looking at these jobs that are being posted and are being created, and like by all means, the community keep on being creative, because we see these and we take inspiration from it. And the feedback that we're getting through all these channels is literally pushing into game design and development every single week. And it's something that, I mean, I think CCP can probably say that we just do. We try and incorporate the good ideas there are bad ideas as well. Let's just face it, from the community, and we try and inject them. That's kind of our jobs.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, 100%.
And it's always so fun after a release like this, I think, because we're releasing something so new and so fun to see. Like, I don't know, as a developer, you never really know how the players are going to receive everything. So just to see, all this kind of really cool jobs, it's been, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, sweet. Anything you guys want to add before we wrap things up, before we deliver this show?
I just wanted to maybe highlight, you asked about the vision for freelance jobs. Yep. So the next major thing that we want to add is ACLs, like I just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. For people that are not familiar maybe with the short term, maybe. So
ACL stands for Access Control List, and it basically it will control which capsuleers or players can even see the freelance job. So hypothetically, you're a corporation, and you only want your alliance to be able to participate in these freelance jobs. By that, you can only set the access to your alliance, and just like that, we have alliance projects.
Yeah, so similar to what we will see, and people might know from docking rights or jump gate rights or such. Mm-hmm. Sounds though like the destroy capsule needs a banned list rather than an access list.
Yes, I mean, we
unless
can
you give me a
both.
Control A on list of all leave players.
It works both ways. It's whitelisting and blacklisting.
Yeah. Okay,
that will
great.
be cool.
I think we've kind of covered it. It's an interesting topic, and it's going to be really interesting. It might sound in many ways like a small thing, but like you've been mentioning here, this opens up so many avenues that simply were closed before. And I'm glad that instead of waiting and that we're just patching this in now instead of and getting the feedback and the experience from what's been done so far. So thank you both so much for your time. Everybody that's watching or listening as well. And until next time, we'll see you just in space, I guess.
So I think that part of this is that they understand this is not a huge update, right? It didn't really feel like there was, it is what it is. I think it's going to be useful. Let's go ahead and jump in game real quick and see just a little. Oops, nope, wrong one. Just to see if there's any what is going on with some corporation jobs at the moment and see what the UI is like. So we open up our opportunities, just here. And we see that there are corporation freelance jobs. Here we go. So bonus NPC bounty payouts. This is for people that are under 14 days. So this is just extra pay for people who are doing ratting, I'm pretty sure. Contract to kill. Who are we killing? This particular person, unlimited quest supplies. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. But Horngree's doing this. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Horngree's a member of the Gal Mill. We can also see, let's see, want to buy hydrogen isotopes at 800 a unit, delivered in JITA. We can see that it's 800 ISK per item. We can view market details to see that it is currently buy orders are 825. So you would be mistaken to sell to this, because this is 800 ISK per unit, and the current buy orders are 825 ISK per unit. And yet, I mean, it does look like, it does look like some people have participated. Yeah, 1% of it has been delivered, so not a lot, but he's gotten 64,000 at a cheap price. This is at 900 ISK per unit. So this is actually better than the current market. And it's in JITA or Perimeter and some other places. So this one's a better one. And it has only gotten 25,000 units turned in, which is interesting. Want to buy fuel box at 20,000 a unit. These are, oh, it's any of the fuel blocks. So it is kind of interesting to see the comparison, but wow. That's what happened. Wait. Oh, wait, what? Never mind. It's the blueprint. 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 I mean, who says that it's not working, though? So 24,000 or 23,000. So helium is definitely not going to be a good one to turn in. Hydrogen is not going to be a good one to turn in. Nitrogen is not going to be a good one to turn. Yeah. So if you turn into this one, you're going to be losing money, but no one's turned any in. So yeah, and it's got 6 more days. So this one is not necessarily a great one. Now, admittedly, the thing about this is that like we are in JITA looking at JITA deliveries, right? So not necessarily the best summary of it, you know, but we can have titanium at 33,000 ISK per unit, or what? Hold on, no, thulium instead of, yeah, I mean that's the buy order price. So, but nobody's turning in that. Can we see? Oh yeah, we can have. Okay, so what filters do we have? So we've got these different filters that we can choose from. Can we go mining? Yeah. Oh, here's the happy birthday one I was talking about. But let's see. I can't just filter for turn-in types. Like I can't filter for different job types, and also it looks like I can't like sort by percentage completion, which I would really like to see. So want to buy hydrogen isotopes for 800, and this has been filled 15%, and they're offering less than the market order. So that's been good for them. But if you look, you can turn these in either JITA or UALX or CTAC-J. So this is clearly like a goon swarm thing, I think, because, you know, that's first Constantinople. So I assume like this is a way for them to kind of collect the stuff in multiple different locations if need to be. You know, whatever. We can always go and look at stuff further if we wanted to. I'm just kind of getting a feel for how this is working out in general. See, this one's, wait, oh yeah, destroy non-capsulars. Got it. Destroy non-capsulars anywhere. It's 87% completed. And this is for only people that are 1 day old. Oh, no, at least 1 day old and no more than 40 days old. So this is like within your first month and a half. Cool. Let's see. There's faction warfare complexes. Here we go in Suggerento. Well, it's being broadcast out of Suggerento, but it targets Nagamenon, which if we look at the faction warfare map, that would be, yeah. Naga would be up here, right? Yeah. So Naga is currently at 52% contested with an advantage on the Galente, and then there's this task by the Caldari to capture sites there. So it's 88% complete, but it apparently has not helped their push. In Null, you'll have delivery services for JITA, like 1% of the value, so anything that's not 99% JITA is going to be a loss. Well, I mean, yeah, well, this is all player-built stuff, right? So I guess different situations will have different kind of results, but this will help reflect that. One of the interesting things about having the stuff in JITA, but the location somewhere else, is that it kind of, if somebody's in JITA looking for a thing, they might be able to see that they can get a better offer if they take it somewhere else, right? This could actually be a really good way to kind of, it would almost be interesting to see, like, hey, put up a job here in JITA that says deliver this item to Dodixie, right? So, like, for instance, with our Dodixie market, we identify a hole. Rather than haul it ourselves, we could actually just put up a freelance job that says, hey, deliver it in Dodixie for 10% more than the JITA buy price in JITA. So that way people can just, like, pick it up in JITA, haul it to Dodixie, and turn it into us. And then we can put it up on the market for like a 30% markup. And then everybody gets their profit, right? You know, just because the job is in JITA doesn't mean that the place that it is delivered needs to be in JITA. And I think that has a really powerful use case. So we'll have to see whether or not people do use that or can use that, you know. But yeah. Well, that is the current state of freelance projects. I hope that you're interested. Let me know down below in the comments if this has been useful to you, if you think that freelance projects are great or not, what improvements need to be made according to you. I personally think that, well, I'd like the ACL thing. I would like the ability to reward with items, although I understand like that has its own complexities when it comes to like how to manage the stuff. You know, there needs to be a place to put the stuff so that way it can be doled out as rewards. The ACL thing is pretty big, but just let me know your thoughts about the freelance jobs projects and what it all means. Yeah, and that's about it. So for this topic, I've been Ashtarothi. If you're watching this live, stay with us. We're going to do a lot more, but if you're watching this edited, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. Until next time, I'll see you in space. All right, so this is 1 hour, 20 minutes. End of freelance jobs. All right, let's keep going. Let's see. Next topic. Patch notes. Real simple. Actually, well, this is kind of the same thing as the freelance jobs. So I want to see whether or not there's anything in here, actually. Oh, hold on. There we go. We're going to get to the MER. Yeah, I think that this all kind of is covered by what we were... Yeah, we've already covered kind of this stuff. All right, great. Liberation Day. All right, so this one is something that makes me a little bit sad, honestly. You know, all 4 empires have their celebration for several years. Those celebrations were more or less just an opportunity for like a login reward track, maybe, and like some sales or whatever related to it. The Liberation Day is associated with, you know, 4th of July or July in general. And this is the one that makes me the most sad, because Liberation Day, the Liberation Day games was kind of the event that was most fleshed out when they were kind of expanding on the different Empire Day events. You could take on the role, like you could side with one of the 7 tribes of the Matar and then go out and complete the sites and earn points for your team. And then the team that wins would have the structure at the Great Caravanserai in Patar dedicate, you know, like committed to them. And so I think it was like the Thucker didn't have any structures. Thucker Mix has structures, but like the normal Thucker tribe doesn't. And so, you know, the one year that they did do it, the Thucker won. And so if you actually, hold on. We go here, I'm pretty sure if I go Thucker, we should be able to see in Paytor. Yeah, we have the Thucker Council Halls of Liberation. The Halls of Liberation Station is a unique facility dedicated to remembering the sacrifices of the Mimitar people during the Great Rebellion, built in YC123 following the inaugural Liberation Games marking the Great Rebellion. This station is formally neutral territory in terms, formally neutral territory in terms of the 7 tribes of Mitar, but each year it is operated by the last Mimitar tribe to win the Liberation Games. So so they did it once, and it went to the Thucker, and then they stopped doing these events. And so, you know, of all of the events, you know, like obviously the Easter event was really cool because people could theoretically get implants out of their head. Several of the events were pretty cool because of the stuff that was in them. But in my opinion, the biggest loss that we got when they redid events and got rid of a lot of the old events was Liberation Day. It's the one that I would really like to see them bring back, because this whole feature about, you know, your team and who's going to win and who's going to lose, I thought was pretty cool. And it would be interesting to see if there were different winners each year, or if it was just like always going to go with the Thucker or whatever. You know, there was other rewards, like you would get tattoos associated with each of the tribe that you joined up with. I thought it was pretty good, and I think that the game is a worse place for not having had it. But there is the vestige of this is, of course, a sale, and that's it. Like, we don't even get a login reward track. We get a sale, and even not even a big sale. You know, like some of the previous ones, like even the Glente one had like multiple tiers with a bunch of different skins and stuff available. We only get one pack for Liberation Day. However, there is some clues that there might be something else going on, so we're going to look at those too. But first, we're going to look at this pack. Proud Capsuleer. Now is your chance to celebrate Mimitar's strength, power up, and stand out. Unlock the new Liberation Day pack. To claim 1,500 Plex, 500,000 skill points, and an extra cerebral accelerator to speed up your training. In addition, you can fly Proud with Freedom Revolution, Republic Police, and Chainbreaker Kumok skins, plus rare skin components like Ancestral Fireclay and Freedom's Foundation. Each item celebrates the resilience and fiery spirit of the Mimitar tribes. So there's 7 tribes, but only 3 skins. Neat, cool. And if we go and look at the pack itself, we can see for $75, we get 1,500 Plex. So 1,500 Plex would be... Oh, that's $75. Okay, so if you bought the Plex with no discount, right? Like if we come to the Plex packs and we see 1,500 Plex. Now it's discounted, or rather because of the free Plex or whatever. So it's $65 if you just bought that Plex, and it's $75 for this. You get 500,000 skill points, which is like a quarter of a month of training. And the Cerebral Accelerator, which is, you know, another, I wish I had off the top of my head the number of skill points it was worth, but it's 10 to all attributes. Lasts for 10 days, which does get boosted to 20 days with Biology 5. I like to, like, here's the thing. This is like the 3rd or 4th different pack now where it seems pretty clear that they have reevaluated the value of their packs, not necessarily in our favor, is how I'll put it. It used to be that if you just priced out the Plex, or priced out the pack for its raw value, that alone, like, already was what made it valuable. And then whatever skins and extra stuff came on top of that was just on top of that, right? That was kind of the standard. You could argue that this is closer than some of the last couple ones because, you know, 1,500 Plex, if you priced it out, like if you literally just went and bought 500 Plex for $25 3 times, you would end up paying $75 for 1,500 Plex. So by that argument, 1,500 Plex is worth $75. But we're already kind of losing grip on things by that, right? The skill points aren't worth that much comparatively. So you're really trying to see whether or not these Skinner pieces and the skins themselves are valuable. Now, as far as that's concerned, these are really good skins, okay? The Chainbreaker Kumok skin, let's go ahead and look at them one at a time. So it's a Tempest Fleet issue, which is a little bit rarer, but also a little bit better. These are going to be used in fleets. They actually are a pretty good fleet doctrine, which is important because that means people are actually going to want it. And the Chainbreaker Kumok is cool for a couple of reasons. One, it has some really good particle effects. It has the banners and it has the Kumok here. The Kumok is the symbol of the Minmatar liberation. So this is a really good like Liberation Day skin. Don't get me wrong. You know, the Chainbreaker Kumok is about the celebration of the Minmatar being broken out of slavery. We could watch the Minmatar trailer again, but I feel like we watch that one every single time. But, you know, in the trailer, there is a Kumok, or it shows the guy hit the dude with the Kumok. It's a scepter. So the Kumok is a scepter used by the MER to kind of control the Minmatar. And like during the original Minmatar rebellion, one of the Minmatar guys managed to get the Kumok from their Amarian overlord and kill him with it, which is why it became like the symbol of the rebellion. So, you know, this is a pretty decent skin. And if we go look on the market, we'll see that it is worth, I mean, okay, so it's worth billions. And if we look at the price history, we'll see that it was worth, hold on. What? I guess it hasn't really been sold for a while, right? So when it was sold before, it can get up to it can go from 2 to 3 billion for the Tempest Fleet issue skins. And that, I mean, that tracks. So this is fairly valuable as far as these skins go. You know, it's much better than the Galente one, if I remember. Then, so the Saber Police skin is the next one. And now that one, I think, is probably also, like, this is also a really good choice for a skin. The Saber is one of the most popular interdictors. So, you know, they create the big sphere that make it so that people can't warp in and out. Sabers are the best, like, Sabers are so popular as the interdictor that people don't say we need an interdictor. They say we need a Saber, right? Like, it is the de facto interdictor. The other interdictors have been made better recently, or not recently, but like in the last couple of years. But it is still true that basically like the Saber is the interdictor. And then, of course, you know, the police skin is useful here because it has a lot of particle effects that, you know, somebody who makes a skin on Skinner won't be able to have access to. And, you know, there's a certain role play you know, piece to this, right? Especially like Wormhole Police or something like that, where, you know, the bubble stops people. So it's like, halt, criminal, you know, and all that sort of stuff. I could definitely see the Saber Police skin being valuable. So we can see here, but right now it is only about 70 million. It went from a height of 200 million, and it has been sitting at roughly 65 million for a while, which interestingly enough, like on the one hand, that means it's not as valuable as the Tempest Fleet issue one, but like, I feel like much more likely, I mean, if you want this skin, that makes it like, that's, if what I just said is cool, it's actually not that bad to get that skin. So that's pretty good. I like that. And then finally, the Freedom's Revolution Claymore skin, probably the least exciting of these all, but the Claymore is a good command ship. Not necessarily the most popular one, but if we look at the fleet, yeah, this is definitely the kind of the most mid. Well, there is the Kumok particle effect at the top as well. So if you do want to fly a Claymore, I guess the biggest sell point is that there aren't really, like, there's the Zydrine burn. But as far as like particle effects or special effects on Claymore skins, this might be the best one, if that's worth it to you. And if we look at the price here, oh, this one's also worth about $1 billion, and has been worth I mean, it just collapsed, but it's been selling for, well, it hasn't really been selling, but when it does sell, it looks like, yeah, it's sold for 3+ billion before. This one's going to require a lot more patience or sell it for cheaper, but this definitely looks like a better deal than the Gallente one. But at the same time, you're only getting those 3 skins, and it's the $75 pack. So I would honestly say that more likely than not, this means that this is a really good time or opportunity to buy those skins from people that are trying to sell them. There's a Twitch drop. Yes. So speaking of skins, there is a Twitch drop for the Vargr Galnet skin that is running until next Monday. It does require you to watch only CCP streams. However, they are still doing that CCP like guest streams. So you can go look at the schedule. They've been streaming a lot more recently because they have other people streaming on their, like other content creators being allowed to come and stream on the CCP channel, which is pretty cool. So you should be able to get your time in. But yeah, that would be the Vargr Galnet skin, which the Galnet skin, I guess the best thing I can say is you either love it or you hate it. It's very pink. It glows. One of the things that's cool about this one, I believe, it's not going to be able to be visible from here, but I'm pretty sure that the Galnet skin also affects the lighting. Yeah, it does affect the lighting. It makes it like a softer blue, which means it should also affect the particle effects related to like the ship when it goes into Bastion and such. And it also has this particle effect off to the side for being the Galnet skin, and of course the play button here. Now the Galnet skins are normally gotten by just watching the CCP stream, and then you get a certain number of channel points, and then you can redeem them for a random Galnet skin. But for now, you can get this one for just watching it, and you can see that its price has been sitting pretty steady at around 30, 40, 50 mil, and now it's, of course, going to go down. So even if you don't want it, it's 28 million sell right now. So it's not going to be... yeah, there are Liberation Day drops, but it's only the booster right now, right? I didn't see if there was another one right now. But the Galnet skin is only CCP. But these ones don't look like they're going to be that valuable. So if you do, again, this is one of those opportunities that if you are looking to pick up this skin for yourself, you can either watch Twitch for 4 hours or just pick one up on the market. They're only 30 million right now, which is pretty cool. And that is Liberation Day, which is, again, disappointing. I really wish we had Liberation Day games. Or don't if you like the Rust skin like me. Oh yeah, there's a lot of good Vargr skin. Marauders always get really good skins. Heart Surge is fun. In Rust We Trust is great. It's got like the holes in it and stuff. Republic Police, police are very popular. The police skins are very popular. Yule Star. I like to call Yule Star my ugly Christmas sweaters because those have special effects during Christmas. You've the Chainbreaker Kumok skin, obviously. And then, of course, you can get Paragon Hub skins. Oh, speaking of skins, actually, if we go back to the Freelance Job blog, we can see a sizzling summer. This summer is proving to be quite a busy time in New Eden. Legion recently saw a not-so-little update, and Capsuleers have been busy generating kill mails in nullsec and lowsec. Plex trading has become tradable from anywhere and between the 15th to the 22nd, so that's in 4 days if you're watching this live. Solarfest is coming, bringing some hot drops for Skinner and more. Make sure to log in daily during Summerfest to receive some amazing goodies, including never-before-seen color-shifting gloss nano coatings. Now, we have seen color-shifting nano coatings before. Well, how good are the Independence Day Skinner parts? That's a good question. Hold on a second. So we've got Fire Clay Matte. It's matte. Don't only show owned, whatever. Let's see. Imperium Plum. Wait, what is this? Ancestral Fireclay Matte, right? Yes. So this is like a purpley color. It's very close to the Imperial Plum. Its current market orders, it's super cheap right now because of that. So it is not going to be your big value when you buy it. Flowers of Matar Satin. So if we go to Satin, what does this thing look like? Looks like a white-ish. So is this it? Flowers of Matar Satin. Let's grab it for this. So it's like a soft cream color. I don't think, well, the nice thing is that there aren't any colors that are very, very, well, no, yeah. I would say, no. It's got a little pink to it that the other skin colors don't necessarily have, which is kind of nice. And its cost is 20 million ISK each right now, which of course you get 9 of them with the pack. You then get Darkness Forged Pharos Metallic. So, okay, so again, it's like a red metallic, but almost like a pink metallic. This one is probably the best looking one, in my opinion, of the different skins, or of the different components so far. And I don't think that there's a really good comparable one. This probably is the winner of the pack so far. And it costs a lot. So 400 million ISK for this one compares. Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily call it ruby per se. But it does, like, this is going to be a nice one, and it's an expensive one. So it's a big piece of what, again, so this pack does have a lot of stuff that you could theoretically sell on top of it. But then finally, we have the Freedom's Foundation, which is a pattern. Which looks like a little, like a swirl at the top. Hold on. Are these alphabetical? That'd be neat. No. What are their order? Does anybody know? Where is it? I'm so bad at finding, like, the correct pattern out of the list. That's not it, right? Yeah, no. Oh, there it is. Got it. So, yeah, I mean, it's useful. I bet if we, like, rotate it and then offset it to, like, the side a little bit and then mirrored it, you could do something cool with that. It's fine. Let's look at the price. It is 26 million. So yeah, definitely this this pink, this Darkness Forged Pharos Metallic is the big winner. Throw it on a Providence. Okay. Actually, you know what? That looks pretty good. That looks cool. We can rotate it. There definitely is some potential to this one. And you can scale it. That's actually, yeah, like you could do some pretty cool effects with this, I would say. I like it. Cool. All right. Yeah, well, I mean, Punch is one of our main skindustrialists, so he knows what he's talking about. So, any rate, speaking of skindustrialists and speaking of Punch, we have the Solarfest skins that we were just showing off, or we were just talking about Solarfest. So this is starting again later this week if you're watching this live, and there are these different skins that are coming throughout July. So, oh yeah, this is the next thing. So like, one of the things is I looked; these skins are not in the game yet, so we can't look at them in game. But like the weird thing, whatever you want to call it, about this is that these patterns look very, very similar to some of the skins that Punch has been coming out with. So it is, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but I am interested to see what happens when we get this solar pattern. But we'll see. I assume that these skins are going to be available as part of the like the login reward. So we have the Stormbringer. Looks like the Thorax, and I think that's the Babaraga, not the Leshak. So I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like we're going to be getting a couple of skins and the Skinner components potentially to make more, right? That's my thought. But we'll have to see. We have a login reward for 7 days, and yeah, we'll be covering that when it comes out. Yeah, inspired. But if you do want to get Punch's skins, they are on the Paragon store, and you can always hit him up for custom skins. He's been doing some custom skins too, which is pretty cool. Also, speaking of skins and speaking of things that are coming out that aren't out yet or whatever, one of the interesting things that I noticed is that there is a set of skins that seem like they could be associated with Liberation Day, but are not available right now. That were added, I think it was today. Let me double check. Yep, these were added 9 hours ago. And they are listed as purple, so you would assume that these are going to be like a pack or something like that, but these are not part of the pack that we currently have. So there's a pretty good chance, I would say, that we're going to get, we have that Liberation Day sale right now, which is that $175 pack. But normally for these sorts of sales, they have like multiple tiers of like, you buy this much Plex, you get this skin, you buy this much Plex, you get 2 skins, etc. But they added in a whole bunch of skins about the Harada Oki, which the Harada Oki, for those of you who do not know, is basically the tribe of the Thucker, or not the tribe, but the clan of the Thucker, that has joined with the Deathless in Zarzak. And in fact, there was like a whole thing about whether or not the Harada Oki were going to be welcomed in the Liberation Day celebrations, in the latest New Eden news and whatnot. And these skins are pretty cool. So we're going to look at them real quick. The cheetah first. So you have the logo of the Harada Oki in this kind of digital dotty appearance here. And then you can see like there are lights that are available, that are visible on the Harada Oki skin there, that are not available, or that are not on the baseline, and these dots here. So, and there's also like this glow from inside. Oh no, that already existed. It's just orange now instead of blue. Wait, hold on. And there's spikes in the back. They added spikes onto the back of the ship, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I like this skin a lot. We're going to have to see how we get them. I assume, like I said, these are going to be part of Plex packs. The Probe Harada... Oh! So the Probe Harada Oki is the Twitch drop. Okay, so do you have to get the other one first, I assume? Yeah, I believe these do have a smack of being Caldari Prime Pony Cub. Tambur's design does really great work. So Cyclone Fleet issue. They've got the dots. Wait, I don't know if there's any particle effects like in space or special effects when you get kills or anything cool, warp effects or anything like that. There is spikes on the back. You can see there's the spikes. The Maelstrom. Yeah, these skins look really good. These are good. There's the spikes along the spine and on the back. Naglfar Fleet issue. Very popular ship. That looks good with all of the complexity, and you can even see the spikes in the back there. And I thought I saw some in the front, but this thing's so angular. Oh, wait, there's also like spikes right there at the very top. And right there. So there's like 3 sets of spikes. Oh, and at the bottom. This one's covered in spikes. Just double check. Yep, all the spikes disappear if you go to a different skin. That's a pretty cool effect. This is not the first time that they've changed physical bits on the ship. No. I can't quite remember, but I think a couple of timbres has done that, more or less. Which I think is pretty cool. I think it's definitely the most noticeable, or the best use of that so far. Nidhogg. The carrier... super carrier. Is it... Hold on. Now I'm crazy. It's the carrier, right? Yeah. So we can see, yeah, it's the carrier. There's spikes along the top, along the sides there. Hold on. Okay, no, those little panels are there, but these spikes at the bottom are new. Spikes along the spine. Ooh, and I really like the different color used. Yeah, hell is the super carrier. Thank you. I was just having a moment of madness. Don't mind me. Oops. No. Wait, hold on. Yes. There we go. And then, so the Stabber Fleet issue, great ship. Very good at, like, punching down. This thing looks mean. This is, I think, the skin of these that I want the most now. Having looked at them, I feel like this really matches the Stabber Fleet issue, like, vibe. Because the Stabber Fleet issue is designed to be this really fast, really accurate, just zoom around and screw up frigates all day. And this really feels like, you know, a high-class solo PvPer's skin, doesn't it? I hope it has some sort of effect when you get kill mails. Or kill marks. But yeah, I think this one's the best one so far. But finally, the Svitpol. Now, getting this on a T3 cruiser, or T3 destroyer is kind of cool. Especially since there are spikes on the moving bits, which is kind of cool. I wouldn't have expected that, actually. Yeah, the Svitpol was legendarily overpowered for several years and then got brought back down. But I mean, it's a good ship. It's still a T3 cruiser. But yeah, so we don't know where these are coming from. I assume, again, that in the next few days or week or whatever, we might see like a Plex pack where these are going to be made available. And of course, we'll show it off, or we'll talk about it then. But these were added to the game today. So just wanted to bring that to your guys' attention. Something to keep an eye out for. All right. So we need to make sure that you get the nitty one. Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind. If you're ready to get the $300 Plex pack. Shoot, where's my pen? Wait, hold on. I had a pen. Did my dog, like, just come and snatch it up or something? Hold on. Seriously, that's funny. Hold on. I will be right back. Hold on one second. don't know where it is. But whatever. I think I got a new one. Oh, never mind. I found it. All right. All right. So we are at 154. And we're going to start our next topic, which is... Let's see. What else do we got today? Which is... We're getting to the MER, but not yet. The Alliance Tournament 21 has been announced. So the Alliance Tournament is kind of my favorite sporting event of the year. Usually happens in the fall. It was actually brought back by the efforts of CCP Aurora a couple of years ago and has been very popular ever since. And they've announced this year's Alliance Tournament. So, arena enjoying capsuleers, leaders and organizers of alliances big and small. The time to gather your best fighters, ingenious researchers and theory crafters and spreadsheet wizards is fast approaching. The next season of competitive arena battles and broadcasts is just around the corner with the 21st Alliance Tournament on the horizon. Do you have what it takes to play under the pressure on a team? Do you consider yourself a meme machine, or do you love making rhyming chants for your favorite team on Twitch chat? Then keep reading. Alliance Tournament 21 registration will soon open. This is the season's first list of key dates that will be found below. Once registration opens, leaders can gather their most intrepid combatants to battle it out in 10v10 in the arena for glory and unique prizes. Matches will feature on the CCP Twitch channel with the EVE community cheering teams to victory. So the Alliance Tournament is actually a really great, it was cut off, like they didn't do it for a couple of years. It was brought back. So I personally love the Alliance Tournament. Obviously EVE Online has a strong focus of combat as war, where, the conditions of combat are not necessarily designed to be fair. N+1 is an important thing, like it's asymmetrical warfare in a lot of cases. But there is, in my opinion, a really strong need or, use case. There's value to the game to have combat as sport as well. And the EVE or the Alliance Tournament has been kind of the source for that. Now, CCP has hinted that not only are they doing the Alliance Tournament this year, but they are working on better tooling to have more tournament style play beyond just the Alliance Tournament. But the Alliance Tournament is the biggest one of the year. And this is also an opportunity for them to potentially introduce new ships or cool stuff like that. The rules change every year. At least they tweak them. And there's usually some sort of host. So we're going to keep looking. Key dates. The goal of today's article is to primarily give you informed with all the important dates for the tournament. So on the 11th of July, which is today, if you're watching this live, tournament announcements and signups on Thunderdome start. So Thunderdome is a special server, kind of like Singularity, like a test server, where people can experiment and fight. Now, it's worth, like, Alliance Tournament happens in Jove space, so that way people can't necessarily interfere with it, but it does happen live on Tranquility. So one of the cool things about the Alliance Tournament is that, like, all losses in the Alliance Tournament are real. As soon as you watch the Alliance Tournament, you can go straight to Zkill and see exactly what fits people had for the ships that were lost. And, there's a lot of really cool pieces to it. But for practice, obviously, you don't necessarily want to, like, try to figure out places to practice on Tranquility, because it's, people will come and disrupt it, people will come and spy on you, etc., etc. So Thunderdome exists as kind of this opportunity for people to the teams to practice and train. So if only they added it back Proving Grounds. I know, right? I agree. So Thunderdome is back open. Then on the 17th of July, so in 6 days, if you're watching this live, main tournament rules announced. Team registrations opened. Thunderdome opens for existing accounts. Oh, okay. So today is the start of sign up for Thunderdome. And then within a week, Thunderdome is going to open for people that are signing up. and invites are going to be going out, and team registrations become open. And then on the 21st is going to be the deadline for applications for talent. I don't know what they mean. I guess individuals. And then on the 25th of July is team registration closes. And then on the 28th of July, talent interview starts. I'm not 100%. Okay, so talent are like commentators. Got it. We'll be opening up applications and search for the most experienced individuals in the community to join us as analysis and commentators to help break down the tournament content for viewers and hopefully dole out helpful advice on who to put their channel points. Yeah, because you can gamble with your channel points on the different fights. And remember, if you get a certain threshold of channel points, you can turn them in for Galnet skins. That's pretty cool. So yeah, the talent here is the people that are going to be like commentating on the actual fights themselves and in between fights, which is a big deal because they actually they ship them all out to Iceland to participate in this whole thing. Like it's a relatively big operation at this point, all things considered. And so then the tournament teams are announced on the 29th of July, so at the end of this month. And then the 30th of July, roster submission 1 opens and MERC registration begins. MERC registrations, like even if you're not in one of these alliances, theoretically speaking, an alliance could pick you up as a mercenary and kind of bring you in without you having to be in the actual alliance in-game. And then on the 1st of August, we get the feeder format announcement and live draw. So like people might... So many people submit, and then only so many people can get in. So I think that they have like a raffle, and then they also have like feeder brackets to figure out who's actually going to be part of the full-fledged Alliance tournament. So on the 21st of August, roster and mercenary submissions 1 closes and ad submission deadlines for feeders. So during the tournament, in between fights and stuff like that, they have ads and whatnot. And so they actually showcase player ads. So there's going to be rules about those and all that stuff, but like it's a really good opportunity for people to advertise their corporation or their projects or whatever. Some of them are quite fun. And then 26th of August, team rosters announced. The 30th and 31st of August, feeder tournament weekend 1. And then the 6th and 7th of September is feeder tournament weekend 2. The 11th of September is roster submission 2 opens. 21st of September is roster submission 2 concludes, and flagship submissions are begin. Each group is allowed to have 1 flagship, which will there's a lot of like restrictions on what ships you can bring and how you can fit those ships. And so flagships are supposed to be your 1 ship that can have like really expensive modules, and also a flagship can break through a ban. So like if you have a flagship Balgorn, which has been historically pretty popular, and somebody bans Balgorn, you could still theoretically bring your flagship if you want to. However, if you ever lose your flagship throughout the course of the tournament, it's gone for the remainder of the tournament. You get the 1. So if it's blown up, it's gone. And then the 29th of September, revised team rosters announced. The 2nd of October, flagship lock deadline and the ad submission deadline for the main tournament. The 3rd of October, flagships are announced. And then the 24th and 25th and 26th of October is the Alliance tournament. So, that I'm assuming weekend is going to be the main Alliance tournament. So we've got 3 weekends of Alliance tournament, 1 at the end of August, 1 at the beginning of September, and 1 towards the end of October. Mostly you just want to loot the flagships. Yeah, that's true. So as we strive to improve the viewing experience for the first time ever, we'll be formally opening up applications for observers from the community to join us. For those unfamiliar with the lingo, more commonly known as in-game camera operators. Got a steady hand and an eye for a good shot, know the difference between a Balgorn and a Barghest, and a good play from a bad one. Show us some of your previous handiwork, and you might be joining the staff of the broadcast. That's cool. The tournament will be broadcasted live from CCP headquarters in Reykjavik, Iceland. Community talent will be invited in a paid role to join CCP staff and broadcast the event live as the main tournament matches happen. We created a form with all the details here. Check it out. Pre-season and signups For the last few tournaments, a preseason registration method has been used with the individual team members responsible for requesting a tournament account and access to the Thunderdome server rather than the captain exclusively. For those unfamiliar with the Thunderdome server, it's our dedicated tournament server. Separate from Tranquility, it has different rules and additionally publicly available tools to help teams practice competitive play with ease and extra security to encourage a more level playing field. The feeder tournament, the tournaments to decide who gets to play in the main tournament, will also take place on Thunderdome. So yeah, the feeder tournament is like no harm, no foul. Losses are not permanent. There are no flagships. The main alliance tournament is the one that's on Tranquility, where all the cards are on the table, as it were. While the AT matches will take place on Tranquility. This means that any team participating in the feeder tournament outside of the entry fee and the time commitment won't have any additional associated costs with ship losses. But when it comes to the main tournament, teams will have to prepare themselves for matches over on Tranquility, where they will be brought directly to the tournament system before returning to where they were stationed. The pre-season and access cycle of Thunderdome has established itself as the new standard. It will continue again this year, so once the rules are published, Thunderdome access will open up, and anyone interested in participating can start practicing on Thunderdome. This will allow individuals to begin tournament practice right from the moment the rules drop. Cool picture. If you have participated in prior tournaments, access couldn't be easier. The login details previously supplied when you requested access will work as before, and you'll get instant access. You do not have to re-request access. That's pretty convenient. I wonder if haven't they historically said, or like, haven't they now like made it a rule that you can't use Alliance tournament ships in the Alliance tournament? I remember being disappointed by that. I don't think that they've reversed that. If you haven't ventured into Thunderdome server before, fear not. You can request access with this form. The process is an automatic. Invites are usually sent out once a week, with the first wave to go out 17th of July alongside the team signups and the rules post. Remember to poke your Alliance executors to remind them to register your team on time. Updates throughout the tournament will also be communicated via the official EVE Online Discord. Hashtag @AT announcements for important tournament updates. Hashtag tournament questions or tournament general for a channel for any questions. Was there a freak? I know at one point they didn't allow them. I don't know if they do now. AT dates and info will track key dates. Well, I guess we'll find out in like a week. We'll track key dates where the current tournament servers invite waves progress, and Thunderdome status for any known issues of downtime on the tournament server. Sponsorship and prizes. After the chaos surrounding Alliance Tournament 20, where the Guristas stole the Concord ships, the IGC opted to return to a degree of normality and stability this year. The main Empire faction for New Eden, the main Empire factions of New Eden bring that feeling back. The IGC is proud to announce that the sponsor for the Alliance Tournament 21 will be the Caldari State. As with previous Alliance tournaments, the prize blog will announce more information about the prizes available closer to the tournament start. Tournament updates and changes from the AT20. Last year, the entry format for the main tournament was a double elimination 10v10 team battles where ships have specific point values. The rules for the event will be refreshed to ensure that the tournament remains diverse and fun to watch, emphasizing pilot skill and team knowledge. We've been happy with the quality of the last few Alliance tournaments. The feeder tournaments allow teams to earn their way to the main tournament while keeping the cost of barrier to entry low for new groups. As such, we'll be maintaining this and the standard going forward. The price for admission will remain at 4,000 plex. Watch for further details about the submission process and the rules for format post next week. One of the significant changes for Alliance Tournament 21 is switching from a 2-weekend, 2-day format to a 3-day single weekend event, which intensifies the actions into 3 days of carnage. Here are some of the rule changes you can look forward to this year. The Alliance Tournament 20, the team's total points were increased from 100 to 200, and many ship values were adjusted. The number of ships with unique point values have been increased again. During the process of increasing the maximum point value, multiple ships saw their overall increase in point value compared to before. This has been further adjusted, and the point costs of many more ships have been reduced. The Babaraga, Tholos, and Cenotaph will be allowed in the tournament. It'll be interesting to see if the Barbaroga ends up being considered a valuable ship within... It's one of those things that, like, the Babaraga is either going to be, like, a champion or it's going to be crap. Can you Bastion? I can't remember if there's rules against Bastioning. As the Caldari are this year's sponsor, the selection of Caldari ships receive an additional point discount. You can't Bastion. Okay, well, if you can't Bastion, then the Bastion's going to be crap. Duplicate holes being fielded, which resulted in what was known as a point inflation, will be suppressed this tournament. The Caldari don't like inflation, so it used to be like one of the things that they tried out was like if you bring more than one of the same ship, like the points go up every single time, but they're going to be reducing that point increase. The maximum number of ships of a given hull size in the arena has been adjusted from 4 to 3. Okay, so the point penalty of having multiple of the same ship is going to be decreased, but you can only have 3 of the same hull size. So medium, cruiser, battleship, etc. A new alternating band system will be used. Additional changes have been made to the flagship system. Last year, some of the previous Alliance tournament prize ships were allowed. Ah, I see. So you could allow, so you could do Alliance tournament prize ships as a flagship. Point costs and a few of the constraints around these ships have been adjusted again. The Caldari have also opted to re-allow the flagship Black Ops battleship, the Widow, to the list of available flagships. So, not 100% clear exactly what that means, but like as far as the Alliance tournament ships and whatnot. But we will, again, get more of those details when the full rules come out. So, yep. We got an Alliance tournament. We knew that we were coming this year, but, this is the first step in that process. We will be watching and tracking this as it comes around. But, that's it for today, I think. So, yeah. The Widow has been banned as a flagship choice from long ago. Yeah, because jams are, like, such a very powerful and, more importantly, like, not fun mechanic. So... What? Well, I mean, it's good for... yeah. That's true. So Tinker is a concept that happens in Alliance Tournament where basically it's kind of like spider tanking, but also with like cap chaining. And in the old school Alliance Tournament days, like Tinker was absolutely king. And there's a lot of rules that have been made to try to suppress it as a viable strategy. And, there you go. But the biggest problem is that like Tinker plus jams was a big, powerful thing. And also was just very unfun. All right. So. We'll jump into it finally. I have not looked at this yet, but yesterday we received the monthly economic report for June 2025. And I just realized that I have not set this up correctly. Let us go here and pull up the monthly economic reports. So that way we can see June, May, and April, just in case we need to compare. Yes. And now we've got Drake here, so that's good. Drake can give us some commentary as well. All right, so monthly economic report. Obviously, it is every month CCP puts out this economic report, which keeps track of a lot of the different indices within the game, and we kind of look at it to try to see the health and figure out what we can glean from the information, if anything. It has been a pretty wild month when it comes to things, so we'll have to see if there's any. Yeah, I already have it. I have it pulled up already here. So, by the way, Flea is Drake Idion, who does put up a really good analysis of the MER almost every month, with a focus on Pochfin, because that's one of the things he's really focused on as a CSM candidate and as a player. All right, Economic Capsuleers. The monthly economic report for June 2025 is now available. Economic summary. Production value has declined to levels last seen in April. A similar downward trend is visible in mining value, which has reached its lowest point this year. All top 4 sync categories have returned to their levels recorded prior to May. We may be seeing the first sign of MPI stabilization, mineral price index stabilization. It recorded a modest increase of 1% compared to May, making the first uptick since the major patch in March. You can download all of the raw data used in the report here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. So this is the first chart. So this is a long time scale. So like all the way on the left here is 2019 rather. And then so we're only looking at the last little tick here, really. And we can see that, yeah, this giant spike of production has fallen off. One could argue that's what war does. You know, the Goon Swarm was preparing to go to war, and then they went to war. And so we see this massive production spike on top of an already, like, wildly high production amount. And we can also see that, like, the vast majority of the production that has been removed has been from nullsec. This is, of course, comparative graph. So this doesn't even necessarily mean that there's more production being done in other areas of space. It just means that there's less production being done in nullsec. Although it is worth noting that the vast majority of the chunk is taken. We don't see high-sec gaining a big chunk. We see low-sec building a big chunk, which is very interesting. Especially one of the things is that we've seen a lot of conflict in low-sec this month in particular. A lot of low-sec groups slugging it out and then potentially having to replace their stuff. Big, people with power in low-sec might want to build in low-sec because building in low-sec is a lot cheaper and more efficient than building in high-sec if you have it accessible. And then we also see like a fall off in the amount of mining, which is interesting. Some people have kind of suggested like, oh, because so there was the big Revenant update, which was a big boost to mining, and you can see this spike to it, but that was also mostly in nullsec. And in fact, we can see that here. But then after the excitement died down, or more importantly, as that new influx of ore and minerals begin to drive down the value of it, the overall being done kind of dips off, and it returns more or less back to normal there. And what we do see is like the latest thing, which was the pyrite changes, really hasn't influenced stuff as much, right? We don't see a big uptake in like high-sec mining, for example. They had to replace their stations and stuff too from the move. That's true. Okay. Key economic values. The biggest ones that we like to look at is Pochfin, which had 2.9 trillion in destruction compared to last month, which was 2.9. Wait, these are different months, right? June. Yep. And then here we have 2.95. So destruction in Pochfin has been very stable. Mining in Pochfin is at 0.26 from 0.26. Wow, Pochfin has been super stable. From 0.19. So we have seen an uptick in mining in Pochfin, and it's kind of stayed steady from there. Let's go ahead and look at what Drake says. So with the second large patch for Pochfin, I had to go back and change how I was calculating those metrics prior to this one. The only source of Pochfin red loot was from the observatories, which was a set percentage of the observatory payout. The observatories themselves are the overwhelming majority of Triglavian invasion faucets, so calculating absolute red loot generated, less red loot destroyed in PvP was extremely easy to do. However, with the next big patch dropping in the last week of June, none of these assumptions are correct anymore. Small sites have been completely reworked and now are an extremely viable source of income, and vigilance points, which were added to the region a month prior, are also classified in the Triglavian invasion faucet. Because of this, I have shifted from net red loot added to the game to red loot physically sold in the month. How does that compare to the fact that red loot is also coming from the Abyss? I'm also doing this for the new class of red loot that drops in the smaller sites. This means that I have to recalculate prior months under the new methods, otherwise they cannot be compared. Crabbing is up 4.8%. Vigilance used to be classified differently as we moved it to trig classification this month. Huh? Oh, Vigilance Stream. Yeah, the Vigilance sites. Red Loot and Abyssus have a different group ID. Oh, okay, so you're talking about, okay, so this is a different Red Loot. Got it. Destruction is up basically 1%. The ratio is up 3.8%. Mining is up 35%. That's, wait. what? But I saw, okay, hold on. Mining is 2.26 trillion here. Oh, no. And 0.26. I don't see any increase in Pochfin mining. Is that... What's going on there? Why do you say that there's 36% increase in mining? I definitely don't see a 35% increase in mining in Pochfin. You're looking at the... No, I'm not. Am I? Fucking A. Yep. Okay. Okay, so you're talking about... Got it. I'm stupid. So from 0.1... That's why the other number matched too. Got it. So from 0.19 to point... why didn't anybody mention that earlier? I blame you guys. To point... whatever it was. So yeah, 35% bump. Got it. Ship composition between pre-patch June and post-patch June saw 33% reduction in Marauder usage, which almost entirely made up the... which almost entirely was taken up by Cerberus comps. The Phoenix Dread in the OBS has finally been retired due to abysmal performance, despite getting buffed multiple times. Has been replaced by the Karura. We also rebalanced Ewar in the observatories. The amount of webs and target painters in the Mimitar site was reduced. The ECM tomfoolery in the Caldari site was reduced. Web scrams in the Glente site reduced. Going off final blows and dreads. Pre-patch, 35% Revelation, 32% Naglfar, 30% Moros, 3% Phoenix. Now it's 26% Revelation, 20% Naglfar, 14% Moros, 29% Karura. Someone fed a Raven fleet into the Revelation, so that's why it's so high. These are like final blows of those dreads against players. So these are players losing ships to the observatory. Keep in mind that the Karura should always be overrepresented in this data because the Caldari version of the site is the most common. In terms of faucet to destruction ratio, May was the lowest it has ever been, with June a close second. Okay. With the significant faucet sources shakeup in this patch, I fully expect the ratio to go up a lot in July. Also, we have added more potential faucets and the incentive to spam Marauders have been reduced. However, this also be spreading the faucets over more actual players. That's true. And like the other thing is that like players really haven't, I don't think by and large players have adapted to or started to pick up on the Pochfin sites yet. They have been buffed and made viable, but I wonder how many people are actually engaging with it yet. Yeah, we'll have to see over time. All right, asteroids mined over time by value or volume. So this is by volume. And we can see engagement is good. There's only one flaw in them that I want to address. What is that? So we can see here, June, we've seen an overall kind of downtick in mining, but that downtick is almost exclusively within nullsec. So that's that, like, people got really, really excited with the nullsec buffs, and then things have kind of contracted back again since then. You don't get payouts unless you're in a fleet. If you're solo and fleetless, you get nothing. Oh, that's, I mean, yeah, that kind of becomes a problem a lot. Although that most of the time, like, it prevents you from doing something. So like you go, oh, okay, I need to be in fleet. This is actually, that's a bigger problem because you might not realize it until it's too late. All right, asteroid ore mined by volume by region. We have Fountain at just under 6 billion. This is the same. Is this the same one? No, this is May now. Okay. So we see Amencia was above Fountain before. Fountain has gone up. Amencia it's a little bit below what Amencia was. But now Amencia is way down here. Ethereum Reach, Veil of the Silent, Metropolis, Forge. Let's see. The Forge is what? 3.5, where it was 3.5. So the Forge is pretty stable. Everything else, you know, we've kind of seen shifting around a little bit, but it's kind of what we saw in the previous chart, which is that, you know, nullsec has had a little bit of a fall off, but highsec remains pretty much stable. Imperium moving around again is going to affect mining. Time to mine if you're moving everything. That's, yeah, no time to mine if you're moving everything. That's correct. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, a big part of this fall off is also this contraction is also going to be like this is what war does. Gas volume mined over time, and we see a downtick here. And we're seeing a slight downtick in nullsec and a bigger downtick in wormhole space. But it's, in my opinion, it's closer to like a correction, it seems, like compared to the previous months. There was a bit of a rise, and then it came back down by the end of June. Hard to say exactly what that is. Maybe just people being excited and then falling back again. I'm not 100% sure. But, yeah. Otherwise, like, if you look at the main trend of things, it is pretty stable, if not a little bit up over the year. So that's good. Gas volume mined by region. Iridia is always big. Yeah, Iridia was at over 35 billion or 35 million before. It's down a little bit. Derelict and Lone Trek has swapped their places, with Lone Trek going up to 25 million, which is up from what it was. Now, obviously, this doesn't include the Pochvin system, or wormhole gas. This is only low sec and null sec gas. Ice mined by volume over time. You know, we see it's been extremely stable. Ice is usually extremely stable just because of the nature of it being there. It's easy to mine. You know, if when you go to the belts, they're big and you can chew on them for a long time. But there's also only so much of it, so you know it's hard for it to go up and down per se. So it has remained pretty stable, although it does look like it's a little bit more coming from high sec than from null sec than before. And so ice volume mined by region, we have the Forge going from just under 5 billion to almost 5 billion, so that's up a little bit. Metropolis goes from 3.3 or so to almost 3.7 probably. So yeah, we definitely are seeing like a little bit of a focus on mining ice in high sec versus other places more, which I mean I suppose makes sense. Moon materials by source, R4s, we have seen like that dip. So more people are now mining their R4s than using Metanoxes. Now that makes sense because they made Metanoxes kind of more expensive to run. And also Pyrite became valuable, which is a component of R4 moon ore. So we have seen a little bit of a shift towards manual mining of R4 versus using Metanoxes, but we've also seen a dip in overall R4 consumption. So it's not like people are like turning their Metanoxes into Athenors. It's more like people are shutting down their Metanoxes, it looks like. As far as R8 goes, we do see a decline overall in... I know a few groups put up down Athenors just for Pyrite, yeah. But like I said, it does look like the dip in overall mining and the dip in Metanox mining. Hold on, I got this wrong. Yeah, okay, so the green is Metanoxes, good. Last time I had it like completely backwards for a long period of time. So R8s are almost exclusively mined through Metanoxes, which makes sense because they're not really valuable enough to mine, and also they're not in high sec or wormhole space, so you have to have them in low sec or null sec, and at that point, like, you might as well try to find a more valuable moon to mine. R16 is also almost exclusively mined by Metanoxes, and we can see across the board Metanoxes have kind of declined in use, because we see a decline in all of these different bands at the same time as these so you know we see a pretty big, almost from 30 million down to 20 million, so a third cut down on how much R8 material is being mined altogether, and most of that coming from no longer using Metanoxes. R16s are down from 40 million down to probably about 30 million. R32s remain pretty steady overall. And our R64s are also down, but aren't really mined by Metanoxes. So again, like this one is almost certainly war, right? Again, the effects of war. Metanoxes seem pretty bad for active miners. Well, yeah, I mean, like if you have people that want to actively mine things, then a Metanox is not what you want, right? Like that's true. Moon material value by region. Veil of the Silent at 1.2 trillion. Up, I mean, it was basically at 1.2 trillion before with Catch. Catch went from 1.2 trillion all the way down to 0.6 trillion. So Catch fell off a cliff. That was part of the war, right? That was part of like the moving around and all that sort of stuff. I'm pretty sure. But if you mine stuff actively that's not worth anything, you're wasting your time. I mean, yeah, that's true. Although nothing's really worth nothing, but yeah. Fountain is now really high. It was, it's up about 0.2 trillion. And we see that, yeah, it always had a pretty high Metanox number and still does. Nothing too exciting here. Again, like there's a lot of suppression of things like mining and activity due to war. R4s are worth mining in high sec. Same with R64s everywhere. That's true. Nothing is worth nothing. That's true. You can even sell Corvettes. I mean, it's hard, but yeah, you can. Okay. Imports and exports. Delve. Delve has the largest exports. Imagine that. Compared to the previous month where it was Innsmother. Where was Delve before? I don't even know. But that's pretty funny. I mean, like that's, yeah, Delve was pretty stable before, and then of course we see this big move out from Delve. At a loss, sure. What do you mean? Yeah, I mean, that's a whole complicated thing. But yes, time is money, as the goblins say. Let's see. Economic activity. Let's look at the Forge. The Forge has 557 trillion in, 486 out. This is going to be interesting to watch because I wonder how much like the changes to Plex is going to affect this in future months. But if we look at the Forge from here, we have so up 10% on the incoming side, 467 to 486, and then like not quite as up on the outgoing side. So more stuff coming to market in Forge this month than in previous months. ISK versus faucets. So commodities are at 40 trillion from 47 trillion. So commodities are down. We'll have to look at the commodity market to see what that might be entailing. Bounty prizes went from 42 trillion to 39 trillion. So again, we're seeing this downgrade in activity, or this downswing in productivity, I should say, which again, war will do that to you. We have ESS main bank auto payment, which is a good tie to the bounties thing. So that goes from 22 trillion to 20 trillion. So again, a 10% loss. So that means that a lot of this bounty that's lost is, of course, in nullsec, which is predictable. Sanchez incursions, which is usually pretty stable, is 19 to 19. That makes sense. Triglavian invasions, this is one of those things that Drake was talking about, is kind of like the sources of payouts for Triglavian invasions have increased. So we see that Triglavian invasions have gone from 8.6 to 9.0, which makes sense because the sources that were increased are much smaller than the main. Like the observatories are big payouts, and actually they got their payouts nerfed. And then at the same time, they've put in payouts for the smaller sites. So, you know, the fact that it has still gone up kind of reflects that, I would say. Agent mission rewards, we see it go from 4.2 to 3.9, so even less mission running. There's totally different things at play here, too. You have 8 miners, R64 without mining, R4 2 because of Pyrite and Mexilon, but R8 is just never worth it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that, like, R8 is kind of in this weird spot where it doesn't have the Pyrite and Mexilon, but it also, like, again, if you're going to mine something, you're going to want to mine an R64. It went from 10.9 trillion to 11.4 trillion if you include Pochvin Red Loot. See? Yeah. So, right, but that, okay, so that's just including the extra payouts, right? Because the overall payout for the observatories didn't necessarily get nerfed. It's just more of it got shifted to Red Loot, if I remember correctly. Okay, let's see. Ministry of Internal Order beat out for home fronts. For the it was House of Records, which is pretty normal. House of Records is down? Yep, 1.4 trillion to 1.1 trillion. So those are home fronts. The cooperative PvE activities in HiSec. Project Discovery goes from 1.1 to 1, so 10% loss in Project Discovery. Remember, you can always use Project Discovery while you're mining or doing other things, gate camping, whatever, as a way of getting a little bit of extra money. In relative terms, it's still cheap in comparison to what you normally mine. That's not true. Depends on what you mean by normally mining. I think Metanoxes were definitely not achieving the space ownership competition CCP was hoping for. People don't seem willing to fight over crashing ore price. Well, I don't know. I think that Metanoxes have been pretty successful. There's a couple of, I mean, like, that's a complicated issue, and I probably want to talk to a few people about it, because it's like the balance between the lava or whatever material that's required for it, whether or not there's enough of that, or, you know, how much that's being worth circulating in the game. And, like, I've heard a lot of people talking about, like, hitting Metanoxes and using Metanoxes, and like the chart shows, I mean, like, they're being used a lot. So I don't know. I think the Metanoxes are doing okay. Well, yes, if you're comparing it to Sov Null Ore, then but R4 is usually compared to other HiSec ores, right? Not nullsec. Metanoxes have become a really good focus of fighting. That's true. Could you raid Metanoxes for ore like Skyhooks? I don't believe so. Although, if I remember correctly, when you blow it up, like when you reinforce it, I'm pretty sure it locks down the whole thing, and then when it gets blown up, it drops a bunch of it. I think that's how it works, if I remember correctly. All right, so commodity faucets over time. Remember, we've seen... Wait. Didn't we see... So we saw commodities go down overall, but it looks like all of the charts of it are up. Was there a commodity one up here? I don't even remember. I think we were just looking at it from the top here. So we saw a bit of a dip in commodity markets, but yet it looks like all of them are up. I have no idea how to explain that or what to think about that. But I mean, things are pretty stable right now, which makes sense because there's nothing really going on involving commodities at the moment, like events. Metanoxes are an insanely good addition to the game. They only hurt HiSec miners and solo miners without access to decent moon ores. I mean, yeah, but like, especially now that people are shifting back away from R4 Metanoxes, like, there's still that space for HiSec miners to mine the R4. They were never, like, HiSec miners were never mining R8s, R16s in the first place. All right. Here we see, yeah, so there's a dip. Yeah, look at, okay, so that shows an uptick in commodity market. 4.7 trillion to 4.0 trillion. May, June. Can somebody help me out with this one? Because like this definitely shows an uptick, but the numbers didn't show an uptick. That's weird. In the Reddit thread, I broke down all the commodity movement in June. Didn't I? But I read all of that. Oh, you can do, but okay. I'm just saying, like, it's weird that when I go and look at the actual numbers, I see it go down. And then when I look at the graph, I see it go up. That's the only thing I want to make sense. Like, why does it go from 47 to 40, and yet we see an uptick? Is it April, May, June? Is it that this dip? So, okay, so this would have been May. So this dip and uptick are part of July. So it upticked towards the end of July, or June, rather. Probably that might be it. I used to mine low value ore. My corp had a moon drill and regularly with the Rourke, but now the price of mercury and platinum has essentially halved. Okay. And I don't necessarily know whether or not that's like, A, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. And B, I don't know how much of that can be blamed on Metanoxes exclusively. Mercury with, yeah. Okay. So, we do see, yeah, that's fine. The overall money supply continues to trend up, with the vast majority of the increase in money supply going to characters instead of corporations. ISK velocity remains stable with a little bit of a continued tick up and a lot of like spikiness. Again, I would account this to war as people are buying and selling pieces as they're replacing ships, etc., etc. Although also you see that the main ISK velocity one is the most spiky. ISK velocity without contracts is less spiky. ISK velocity without contracts and Plex-related items is almost flat. So there's a fair chunk of these spikes that are likely people responding to the Plex changes with the friction-free Plex potentially, right? That was June. Wait, was that June? No, right? No, none of that was in June. Like this was implied that there's a lot of like Plex-related stuff that was being done and contracts and stuff being done here. That's going to be frustrated as a dev making changes that you think people will like and having negative consequences. I mean, yeah, that's always kind of the nightmare scenario, but also in Eve, one person's loss is another person's opportunity. Like there's literally, yeah, you're not going to make anybody happy or everybody happy, because by definition, making one group happy is going to make another group sad because it's a competitive game. I don't think that Metanoxes themselves are bad, but I think that they'd had a negative impact on active use of resources. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the problem is that there's been a lot going on, so it's hard to be like isolate Metanoxes as being only one piece of the puzzle. I think the big piece of it is going to be paying attention to like T2 prices versus T1 prices, because that's where a lot of Metanoxes are going to come in because they provide the moon goo. Yeah. Economic indices, full history. So the MPI, the Mineral Price Index, has now dropped back down. Like it dropped back down before and now has remained down at that lower value. This is a recovery from like this incredible runaway pricing of minerals because of big bottlenecks. It's still higher than it was during scarcity, which means it is definitely valuable to mine. But this drop in price will make it so that some people might feel like it is less valuable than it was before. You see the secondary production price is starting to decline and like follow suit. Primary producer has gone up a little bit. You ever play the mech game that was based on the Carbon engine? Are you talking about Perpetuum? Mineral, yeah. So the mineral price index, we looked at that earlier. Yeah. I played Perpetuum for a while. The consumer price index decomposition. Okay, hold on. Check Discord. Right, my Discord crashed earlier. Hold on. These are, yeah, so almost 100% more Edencom data, which makes sense because that's new, right? And then, so Homefront operations commodities are up by 6.7%. Adivum's up by 6.2%. Oh, these are not percent? What is this then? What are these numbers? Increase in billions of IS compared to June. Okay. So, kind of interesting. I guess, yeah, a percentage wouldn't work if it's a negative 1,000%. That wouldn't work. I do find it interesting that there's a lot less being used of rogue drone analysis data. That's the crab beacons. And of course, the drop on overseer personal effects makes sense given the fact that there hasn't really been events going on. Drop in Triglavian data is interesting. Probably because people have stopped running the Abyssus much after the Babaraga run. Yeah, negative 1.3 trillion in sleeper loot. Mineral price indices, we can see that the recovery, because remember there's a big drop off in the value the month before. So the recovery in minerals are almost exclusively low end minerals. So again, that's interesting given the fact that so they recently did a change to make pyrite more available, and yet the price of low end minerals, including pyrite, continues to uptick a little bit. There has been some consternation about that, about how the current pyrite changes. In fact, we can see here there's an Okami update where it says our refinement rate updates. However, we're keeping but it is clear it is not having a short-term impact. So, right now they're admitting to the fact that the changes that they made to pyrite has not made a noticeable change in the availability or price of pyrite recently. But we will talk about this post in just a little bit. We have primary producer index, a big up in raw moon materials. That's interesting. And an up in commodities. Okay. Commodities is always an interesting one because it's, they're bought by NPC buy orders most of the time. But asteroids, we see a little bit of an uptick in raw asteroids too, and a little bit in advanced moon materials. Secondary price index, nothing really jumping out. A little bit in capital ship components is a little bit up. Salvaged materials has gone down a little bit. Nothing too noticeable. The price indices, modules are a little bit up. Ships remain a little bit down from their previous high, but it is a bit of an uptick. Again, war is going to do this also on top of things. There's less things being produced and mined, but at the same time, things are being destroyed and requiring to be replaced. Wormhole stuff. We usually have to compare that to the previous month to get anything of value. Let's see here. The class 4 wormhole went from 2 trillion or 4 trillion to 5 trillion. So overall, more being extracted out of class 4s. Class 3 went from 1.1 to 1.2, or sorry, 1.2 to 1.1, so a little bit down there. A little bit down on the Class 5s. And that's for gas. Materials. Let's see. Blue loot has gone from 4.9 trillion in C6 and 7.7 in C5 to 4.7. So down. Yeah, so there's that big drop off in blue loot that we've seen. We see a 0.2 trillion there and a 0.4 trillion, I think, in C5s. And then 1.6 to 1.3. Yeah, so pretty much a down across the board when it comes to blue loot coming out of wormhole space. And largest battles by solar system is a cool chart, but nothing really to pull from. So yeah, that's it for your monthly economic report. Definitely we're seeing a lot of like downswings on things like mining and production. Although again, I think a lot of that can be attributed to nullsec and a lot of that can be attributed to war. So, you know, we will have to watch next month to see like the effect of like the Plex changes, although we can go and look at Plex right now and see that overall, we don't actually have a market history for Plex anymore because when they changed over to this new system, the old price history was basically eradicated. But it was basically at 6.1, 6.2 before, and that's where it's at now. So the Plex prices, this change has not really made too big of a difference yet. I wish I had like the quantities that were purchased before. Maybe I'll have to go look see if I can find a website that has that data from historical. But yeah, we haven't seen like a big drop in or even a big increase in Plex. It's just kind of continuing exactly the way it was before this change. So, yep, that is the economic analysis for this month. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think, what we should be paying attention to for next month, etc., etc. But all that said, I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. Until next time, I'll see you in space. Whee! Okay. Let's see, market. And then finally, I do want to go over the Akami post a little bit just to see. So CCP Akami is like the big, is the newest main dude for EVE Online, the main director, one of the three. And he's been kind of coming in and taking names and doing awesome stuff and getting people happy with him. You know, he made a name for himself with the Revenant Major Update, and now we see, you know, he's been really good with communication, honestly. So here is his latest update. I just want to know what these sleepers are up to in the potential wormhole to Joe space. Yeah, we're going to have to wait to see how that goes. Hello, folks. Happy summer. It's time for another update to let you know what's going on in design land at CCP. First thing I'd like to mention is my next dev blog. I'm still writing it, but the summer has been way busier than I anticipated, so I apologize for not getting this out sooner. I'm still working on it, and it's a bit massive, so hopefully I will deliver something interesting to read. As a reminder, it's on the tuning and balancing of EVE Online, and it's my intention to not get into any specific vision for how we might tune a specific area of the game, but rather to go into some game design, game philosophy, and give you some insight as to how decisions are made and why we do some things and not others. In other news, tuning and balancing, State of Pyrite. I'd like to talk a lot about, I try to talk a lot about no quick solutions when it comes to game balance, and this is one of them. Our refinement rate updates are likely a solution that will take more time to effect a change, but it is clear that it is not having a short-term impact. However, we are keeping an eye on this situation, and we have a few other tricks up our sleeve if we don't see the results we're hoping for. We'll talk more about these in the coming weeks, should we decide to take action. So Pyrite didn't, as we said, didn't really see didn't really see a major change. If we go to the market, I am not even showing the dev blog. I'm sorry, but either way, what happened? Why am I undocking? Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about that. Funny how people were scared of Titan and Battleship nerfs, not realizing that Surgical Strike reverts coupled with the buffer bonus is kind of absurd. Well, I mean, that's not necessarily like those two things are both true. Or can both be true, I should say. Here we go. So Pyrite, we've seen it has dipped a little bit, but not that much. If we look at like the whole year, it's still up from 10 to almost 30, right? Like we can see here, it's 30. Yeah, it's 30 ISK right now, which is triple the price from a year ago. So it could go down quite a bit more before there's a problem. But, you know, the question is, of course, how much is he going to continue to like tweak with it? But it is trending down. So they may just let it kind of see how it plays out. Well, the buffer fixes were a band-aid fix to make battleships more viable after losing 10 to 20% EHP from Surgical Strike. I would argue that the buffer bonuses were more because they dramatically increased the price to build battleships with the industry changes. And in the end, they ended up having to buff battleships to compensate for the increase in cost to build them. And that, like, those roll bonuses ended up being the most direct way to do that. Will the price ever truly come down, though? The amount of ISK in space has exploded. Well, according to the MER, the amount of ISK in space has not exploded, per se. But yeah, I mean, like, it very well could come down. Sure. Capital ship bottlenecks. The exploration-sourced industry capital component items were intentionally designed to as a bottleneck and is now verified as working. We are alleviating some of the friction of this bottleneck by making these items more abundant in wormhole exploration in an upcoming release. So they did mention that they're going to be giving some love to wormhole space. This is the first piece of our hint to that. Ship tuning and balance. We have a number of ship balance considerations that we're working on that are being geared up for the major update. We're aware that the Cenotaph is feeling oppressive to wormholers and we'll be considering some tuning changes to make sure it's feeling fair and balanced across the ecosystem. So, look, my biggest problem with things like the Cenotaph and things like Edencom ships is, like, I don't like ships that are balanced exclusively by, like, price via availability, right? Like, the problem is that if you nerf the Cenotaph, it's already going to be a problem because they're so expensive to make or to acquire for the most part. So they have to be good. But then when they're good, that's a problem. So, like, again, like with Edencom system ships and Deathless ships, I would just like to see the availability of those BPCs be made more available and then tuned from there. But either way, we are aware that there's a number of challenges regarding the tankiness of battleships, Supers, Titans after Surgical Strike revert. We'll be looking at these and deciding on some adjustments that we want to make in the next major update. I agree that, like, the battleship roll bonuses, like the plate bonuses and extender bonuses and stuff, could theoretically be looked at now, especially since they've also reduced the price of battleships again. I honestly haven't heard that much about the tankiness being a big problem per se, and I think that, like, this definitely has made a lot of people nervous with that statement. I hope that they keep it pretty mild there, because I think that it's good that Supers, Titans, and battleships are considered to be pretty strong. 2.51 trillion is still an all-time high for ISK in existence. Well, yeah, but, like, in the nature of the game, it is likelihood that the amount of ISK in circulation will go up, especially if people aren't quitting the game, that is, right? People quitting the game is probably the biggest, like, sink of ISK. Yeah. Well, yeah, I hope so, because, like, I don't know, I think that Marauders are in a pretty good spot, and Marauders are always, like, the punching bag when they want to nerf something, I feel. I will be starting a generalized feedback thread for other ship balance in hopes and dreams soon, so start taking notes. We'd love to hear from you. And then freelance jobs deliver items is available on June 10th, which has now happened. Yay! All right, so that's it for CCP Okami's post. And yeah, I think that that's actually about it for today. So, you know, cool. We got to cover the MER, we covered the AT, we covered the freelance jobs stuff and Liberation Day. Let me know next week. I don't know what's happening right now. We'll have to keep track of things to see whether or not there's much news to come up with. Plus, we do need to make the armor tanking guide, or not the armor, but the tanking guide soon. Yeah, that's it. If you are interested in joining us, the Convocation of Empyreans is hiring. We are here to maximize player engagement with EVE Online. We've got fleets throughout the weekend, including a moon mining fleet every Sunday. We got activities in faction warfare, in high sec, in low sec, etc. And we're looking for more people to engage with. So consider joining. You can also just join the Discord if you're interested in hanging out with us, asking questions, or if you want to flag yourself as interested in YouTube. That's the best way to get updates for my videos before or as they're coming out. If you are new or returning or just have never used the buddy code, you can use the link down below or in the chat right now to get 1,000,000 free skill points. That's 40 days of alpha or 20 days of omega skill training for free, and it helps those who help the stream. If you want to help make this possible, consider becoming a member. You get access to a member-only chat channel in the Discord, as well as the emotes and other such like that. You can also pick up some merch, like this awesome Convocation of Empyreans mug. There should be links down below. If there's not, yell at me. Like the stream for the guineas and for the puppies. Reminder that yesterday was my son's birthday, so if you're interested in giving him any birthday presents, just Steam gift code or a Roblox gift code, and let me know who to tell him it's for, and I'll make sure that he gives you a thank you for it. But I do want to thank all of my supporters and all of you who have stayed here and hung out and liked the stream and shared it with friends and the community. And I want to, of course, thank my Immortal tier sponsors, 745 MPSI, Arydanika the Queen, Bad Boy Smooth, Ebo Elite, Erladis, Elange, Flash Gordon, May, Malik Starfire, Malin, Mercuton, Mayak, Nephilim, LM1, Sheesh, and Rid. Thank you all so much. I have been Ashtarothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put EVE into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you all so much for coming, and until next time, I'll see you in... Oh, Dutch has a Drifter Hive this weekend. And until next time, I'll see you in space.